Everybody. Sorry, I know I got started later than I wanted to. It's been a good day today. Just so much going on, and I really wanted to fit in a live stream right before Easter weekend. So, this is really the only time I have to do it. But it's one of those days where I have so much to fit in. So, I wanted to do it earlier, but this is the time that worked for me. So, whoever is able to join me right now, hello, you guys. So nice to, well, I guess I can't really see you, but so nice to be with you right now. And just a little reminder for those of you who have never joined before, if this is your first time, feel free to comment all throughout the live stream. And at the end, when I'm finished, I'm going to go through, read your comments, and we can have a conversation and talk about whatever you want to talk about. So that's the part I always look forward to. Just want to make sure everything's going. Looks like we are on, so we're good. Awesome. Okay, so I will say a couple of things. I think going forward I'm going to try to do a few more videos that are not live stream. I just, with time lately, it's so much faster to just do a live stream because I don't have to edit anything. It's just on and up and going, and it's there. And the other, when I record it, I have to go through and edit it, put it together, and upload it, so it takes a lot longer. But I think I'm going to do that going forward because I've noticed as I've watched some of these live streams later, when I go back and watch them, I notice that sometimes it will cut out what I'm saying. So it'll cut out sometimes the most important sentences that I want you to hear. For some reason, it just gets cut out, so it's a little bit choppy. I don't know if you've noticed that as well. One of the things I'm reminded of that was cut out of the last video, so I just wanted to say it again. I was saying something along the lines of, I heard in my mind during conference, and I wrote this in my notes, that if we really knew how soon the Lord was returning, if we really knew how soon His return was, it would change everything. It would change our priorities completely. So that got cut out of my video. So just wanted to add that again, you guys. But anyways, before we get started, I was going to share some things. I'm just going to go into my notes. I didn't print them, so I'm just going to pull them straight out of my phone. First time I've ever done this. Usually I'm a bit more organized, but I think we're good today. And I don't think this video is going to be as long as they usually are. I know I say that a lot, but I really mean it this time because I only have two things I want to talk about. And you know, I can talk a lot about just one thing. So we'll see, but I know it'll be a lot shorter than my other videos. So yeah, I wanted to let you know that there's something in the works right now that I'm excited about, and I don't quite yet have all the details on it, so as they come in, just check back here and I'll share more when I can. But I've been invited to be on, I don't even know what to call it, I guess the planning committee for a conference coming this fall. I believe it's September 20th and 21st, and it's going to be at Weber State University. And it's being put on, it's being organized by a friend of mine and her group. And I know there's a theme coming, so I'll tell you what that is as it comes. But the whole purpose of the conference is about Zion, and it's one of those interfaith conferences. So it's open up to everyone, and we're trying to get people to come speak and to come be a part of it and to help plan it that are involved in interfaith organizations and interfaith planning, and particularly here in Utah, because this is where the conference is going to be. So we're trying to find people from different backgrounds, different denominations and groups to come in and just share whatever the Spirit prompts them to share about what Zion means to them and their perspective of Zion, and how coming together in these last days with everything we're trying to do, especially with building bridges and that whole tour. And there's so many other groups that are coming up and really just spreading all over. But there's a whole what's the word I'm looking for? There's a pattern. There's something amazing happening right now, and the Lord truly is using everyone that He can to build these bridges and bring everyone together. And so this is another great conference where everyone can come and continue to build those bridges, build wonderful friendships, but sort of talk about how we can all work together in our communities to build Zion and to help bring that about to, prepare for the Lord's return. So it's going to be an awesome conference. She's talked to me already about some of the speakers she's lined up, so my friend. So it's going to be amazing. But like I said, we're all different. We're diverse. It's a diverse committee, a diverse group of people. So a lot of wide perspectives, which will be really interesting. But the whole purpose of it is to just, again, focus on what we have in common and just the whole purpose of being one in heart, one in purpose, that whole Zion mentality. So anyways, I'll share more as details come in, but I just got off the phone with her yesterday, so it's fresh on my mind, and I wanted to share that with you. We're having another Believers Building Bridges tour event scheduled for, I just talked to Lynn again today, and the date sort of changed. I think it's now going to be the last weekend of May into the first part of June, so that last weekend. And more details are coming on that, but again, it's going to be in Independence, Missouri. And let's see, I think those are all of my announcements. So I did want to point out, some of you who follow me, you saw me post about this, but I wanted to share it here as well. I've had some interesting things going on with my YouTube channel, and I just want to put it out there. If you wouldn't mind just keeping my channel in your prayers. It's nothing serious, nothing major, but I truly believe that my channel and my videos are being censored. And I know I've talked about this in some of my groups, but I just wanted to kind of show you just a little bit of what I'm experiencing. And yesterday, YouTube reached out to me and basically said they can't tell me anything. So there's been zero progress with that. Nothing really going on, nothing changing there. But I just wanted to show you kind of what I'm talking about and explain why it's something that I'm going to be praying about. But here's just a video. This was one of the very first videos we posted on my channel, and it was just a little 4-minute video of our Disneyland trip. We surprised our kids with a Disneyland trip years ago, and we put this on there. And it's funny because there's the number 311. And so, pay attention. Here's 11 over here. So these are the kind of things we can expect in this 11th hour is, our voices kind of being shut down and our voices being censored all over the media. So this is interesting. This video right here, it doesn't show it on here, but it's had well over 1 million views. It's my most popular video on my channel. Has nothing to do with my Happy Lady videos or messages, but it's my most popular channel or video that brings a lot of traffic to my channel, and it's how a lot of people end up finding my Happy Lady videos and messages. So anyways, you can see right here, ever since YouTube disabled all of my comments, just this video alone has dropped 90% in watch time and 94% in views. That's almost 100%. I'm going to transition over. Just to kind of give you an idea of why this is such a big deal. That's almost 100% of my views and watch time disappearing. And so this channel, I've shared my story with it before of how I had a dream that I was supposed to start it and the purpose of it. And I always continue to believe that God is in control, so His will be done in all things. But one thing I want to share about this is it's not just this video, it's every video. So the only people that are finding my videos are basically those who know me, right? So all of you out there, those of you who know me and follow me in my groups, or you follow me on my Facebook pages, Instagram pages when I post that I'm going to be doing a live stream or I share a video, or my blog, because when these videos are done, I'll always post them there. But that is all the traffic that's coming in. So I can look at the charts, read the analytics and the numbers and see everything, and it's showing me that basically it's just wherever I'm putting the link, wherever people are going to a fixed page like my blog and there's the video for them to click on, that's how people are finding my videos. So the numbers have significantly dropped, almost to 100%. And you can see if you look at the videos, the watch views with each video just continues to decline. And if you look at the chart, you see it how it's on the steady peak. And then the day that they disabled the comments all across my entire channel, you just see it completely do a nosedive. And I've also heard from other people that my videos don't show up anymore in their feed. So anytime I post something or, you know, share a new video or a link to something, they're not seeing it anymore. And so you almost have to go directly to my Facebook page, directly to my blog, directly to these places to see if I've posted anything, or directly to my YouTube channel to see if there's anything new, because people aren't getting the alerts as often and they're not getting the updates on their timelines. So they're not seeing any of those posts. And I don't know, I just feel, I know it's not just me. I've looked into this and I know that there's a lot of other channels out there who are either Christian channels, conservative values, family values, you know, that type of thing. Their channels are going through the same thing that mine is. Not every channel, but I found many that are. And I wanted to show you here kind of what that looks like. Here's one that I found. I'm not familiar with his channel, but when I did a search for this, this channel came up, and as you can see, apparently this guy, he's had to start channel after channel after channel because I think YouTube's deleting his channel. So he has to start a new one, and then they delete that one, and then he starts a new one. But this one he started has, you can see down here, over 5,000 subscribers, but you look up here at the left and only 83 views of this video that had been out for a couple of months. But as you can see, it says February 28th, so it's around the date when YouTube shut down all the comments on everyone's channels. And anyways, I feel like not only did they shut down the comments, but they just full-on censored. They did everything. And I don't know, it's just my feeling, just from what I'm noticing, just from what I'm feeling. And so this is just one of many channels that I found that are having this problem. And something else that I've heard two things about this. One is what I mentioned, where it's being censored in a way that it's not showing up in people's feeds. So they might be subscribed to a channel, but they're not getting the alerts that a new video is out, so they're not seeing it. Or it's not showing up in their social media feeds, so they're not hearing about it. But then I'm also hearing, and I guess there's kind of really no way to prove this, but I'm also hearing that people believe that there's something going on to where YouTube changes the numbers on these channels. So it very well could be that lots of people are seeing the videos. They're just unable to comment, so you would never know because no comments are coming in. Sometimes based on the amount of comments that come in, that'll tell you, give you an idea of how many people are watching the video, but you can also see based on the views. But what they believe is that they're not allowing people to comment for that reason, so you don't see how many people are seeing the videos. And then they're just showing a very small amount of views, and so it is possible that more people are seeing the videos, but they don't want you to see that. And I guess in a way that can discourage you. It can be very frustrating for a lot of people who put so much time into their videos and channels to build it and get it going, and then to see it just kind of nosedive can be really discouraging and frustrating, and it has caused a lot of people to leave their channels and go to other sites and start channels there. But not only that, but I know that it also affects everything else. So the way that YouTube works is everything's based off your numbers. So the more numbers you have, typically, I mean, we're just saying based on a normal scenario when you're not being censored. This is how it was for me before February. So what would happen is if you have so many views and so many people commenting, it pushes your videos up. And so when people type in those keywords, the keywords that we tag to our videos are going to pop up first. They're going to find our videos because of all the activity that our channels are getting. So it's really good for your channel. It's really good for your videos. But when those numbers are declining and they're sparse, then you sink to the very bottom of the feed, so no one's seeing your videos. And you know, for people who are using their channels as a source of income, a primary source of income, I know there's people out there who have millions of subscribers, and it's what they do full time. It's kind of their full-time job. And I mean, it makes me think of Dutch Sense, the guy who has the earthquake channel. But when those numbers change, then they're able to also change your revenue that's coming into your channel. So they're saying, well, according to these numbers, you have, you know, less than 5% of viewership, or you have less than 5% of watch time, or whatever it is, the numbers are going down. So therefore, that's going to heavily affect your revenue stream. So you're going from maybe a channel like that getting hundreds or thousands of dollars a month coming in, down to like $25 a month. So it's a really big difference. So I can see how different people in different channels are being frustrated on different levels for different reasons, but it's a really big deal. For me, the biggest part of it is really just shutting down our voice. I feel like it's a quiet way of shutting down our voice so that we're not heard. And I did share this, I did express this with YouTube. I'm not sure who I'm working with right now. It's a girl, a customer service representative, and she responds every day, and she's very polite, but I feel like she never is addressing my questions. She's kind of just giving me these robotic, cookie cutter answers. It almost feels like I'm talking to a robot, not a real human. And so it is a little bit frustrating, but I'll point something out, and I'll just point out how that's not right. And could you look into that, and could we get it fixed? And she'll say, yes, I'll look into that. And then she'll write back, and she'll give me an answer that has nothing to do with what I was asking. And it's the strangest thing. So we've been going back and forth with this for well over a month and a couple of weeks or longer. So it's been very interesting, and I'm not sure that it's going to get any better anytime soon. So that's why I ask if you could just keep my channel in your prayers, keep these videos in your prayers, and I just want to make sure they reach the right people and that they're able to reach people. But again, I know the Lord's in charge. He's still on the throne, and His will and His plans for this channel are still going to go out as He intends. So I firmly believe that. But one other thing I wanted to share about that, unless it just slipped my mind, was that, oh yes, I know I shared this previously, but I wanted to bring it up for those of you who are new and didn't hear that. The reason this all happened was because YouTube said that they were doing this as a way to protect channels that had videos that featured minors, so children under the age of 18. So it was not supposed to target an entire channel, just individual videos. So they went through, and any video supposedly that featured children in it under the age of 18 automatically had their comments turned off. However, the difference here is that everybody was able to go in. So this affected major channels that have millions of subscribers, family channels with their kids and their families, those kind of videos. It affected them, and they were frustrated, but all they had to do was go back in and turn it on every single video. Just turn the comments back on, turn it back on, turn it back on, and then all the past comments showed up. Well, with my channel and some of these other channels that I talked about, that wasn't the case. It wouldn't allow us to turn them back on. And so when we were talking to YouTube or talking to other people to troubleshoot, they'd say, oh, it's so easy, just go back in and turn it on. But for some reason, there's a block on our channel that won't allow us to turn our comments back on. And what's interesting is they turned off the comments on my Happy Lady videos, which do not feature children in them. And so that's one reason why I like doing the live stream, is because it's the only way I can have comments come through and we can have these conversations. There's been two videos on my entire channel for some reason that are allowing comments. And so that tells me it's not something that's like a switch that's on my whole channel. It really is an individual video type of thing. For some reason, there's two videos that somehow slipped through the cracks, and I think one of the videos even has my children in it, and the comments are just fine. They're turned on, and so that's really interesting, but all the other videos are blocked, so we can't turn the comments on. And the one thing that has really kind of saddened me about that is I have so many videos, especially my Halloween video. A lot of you found my channel because of the Halloween video and the prophecy video. There's quite a few videos, Happy Lady videos, that people found my channel through those videos, and there's been some great conversations in the comment feed down below those videos. So there's been people that have shared other articles and links and scriptures and just kind of cheering each other along and helping each other out. And I don't know about you, but when I watch a video, I love to scroll down and read what it is that people are saying about that topic. I like to read the conversation, and sometimes I like to join in. And you can't do that at all on my channel. You can't do that. The only time we can do it is during this live stream, and it's just the handful of people that are joining me live that can comment. But once the video is done, unless it changes somehow going this day forward, you'll notice that underneath the video at the bottom, you can't click on comments. Sometimes it doesn't even say they're disabled. It just doesn't say anything at all about the comments. So that's kind of all of that in a nutshell. That's what's kind of been going on behind the scenes with my channel. And as the subscribers continue to go up, it's just so strange how every other number continues to nosedive, almost close to 100%. And when I pointed that out to YouTube, I just said, you know, it's really not fair. There's something very wrong about this, because they kept writing me back saying, we're just trying to protect the children. We're just trying to protect the children. But I said, well, every major channel out there that has millions of viewers and subscribers that has kids in every video, their comments are not disabled. They're all turned back on. So it's really not protecting those children. But then videos like mine, where it's just me talking about inspirational things, you know, our voices are silenced on this. No one can comment. There's no conversation. People can't share things with me unless they find a way to email me. So yeah, I can see how someone like myself who does a channel like this might start to feel a little bit frustrated and alienated from everyone, because you're not hearing from people. So I was getting messages all the time. I mean, emails, through YouTube, comments coming in every day, just constant feedback, and it was always really positive and uplifting, and it really helps you feel like you're making a difference, and the way that you're spending your time is valuable for other people, and so it keeps you going. And then all of a sudden, when YouTube censored my channel and everything just stopped, it's been oh my goodness, I mean, every day I get nothing coming in. It's like zero. So I went from an overwhelming amount of comments and messages coming in, which were great and very positive and motivating, to absolutely nothing, like just crickets, right? So I could see how that could make other people feel like, okay, is anyone watching these? Is this making a difference anymore? Should I divert my time in another area? Should I take this to another venue, right? So I could see how that could work. And I don't know if that's the goal of whoever is behind the scenes on all of this. I just know that the people working in the call centers probably don't know about this, and that's why they don't have any answers for me. But it's clear that it's not right. It's very, I'll just plainly say it, messed up. It's very messed up. And it doesn't make any sense. It doesn't match what they're saying with their policy and their protection policies. It just doesn't match with that at all. And so I feel like I'm being targeted. I know other people feel that way too. And I feel like it's just a quiet, safe way for YouTube and other websites as well, and social media outlets, to silence voices. Because if they're able to just blame it on, well, it's a protection policy to protect the children from pedophiles, so it's a good thing. And if they're able to blanket it under that, or blanket it under, well, it's a technical thing, we don't know why you're the only one that can't turn your comments back on. We don't know, it's a technical thing, and our team's been working on it for a month and a half, and they don't know. And so they're able to umbrella it under that. It looks good for them, it's safe for them. Where I know in the past with Facebook, and I think even Twitter, I know other social media outlets were getting into a lot of legal trouble, because people were able to say, you are censoring me, and there's no reason for it. But where they have reason for it, and they can kind of disguise it under those reasons, you know, it protects them legally. So I did tell the lady I'm working with, I'm sorry, but I just feel like I am being targeted. This isn't right. It isn't fair. And I don't feel like anyone is in my court trying to help me make this right. And when I showed her how my numbers have dropped to almost 100% and how alarming that is, and I showed her the chart, I did a screenshot of here were all my numbers before February, And here they are completely nosediving after you disabled everything. And to her, she said that wasn't alarming. She said that's normal. So anyways, I just had to get that out there. So please keep the videos and the channel in your prayers. I'm just hoping that this is the worst of it. I'm hoping that it doesn't continue to, they don't censor in other ways. I would hate for them to come out with other policies and they start deleting videos that don't match with their views or whatnot. I just really feel like our freedom of speech is slowly being taken away from us. And I know I'm not the only one who feels that way. If you Google it, YouTube it, surprisingly there's videos on YouTube talking about this and they haven't been deleted yet. So, but I know a lot of us feel that way, so just wanted to share that. Okay, well let's get into, we're already about 26 minutes in, so I want to go ahead and share with you guys the two things I wanted to talk with you about today. Believe it or not, that wasn't what I had in my notes. So, let's see. So I want to tell you that I had a wonderful time. We just got back from the Bahamas, and so I know I started out the video sharing with you some things that were kind of frustrating, but truly, honestly, right now in this moment, I don't feel frustrated. I feel so happy, and I'm going to share with you throughout the video why I feel so happy, but I'm feeling feelings right now of peace, happiness, joy, trust, faith, hope, all of those feelings, just a heavy sense of security and just really good positive feelings. So I'm in a good place right now, a really good place. And it all started with this trip I shared on, I think I shared it on Facebook. I may have shared it in a video, I'm not sure. But my husband, he won, no he didn't win, he was awarded a trip for two to the Bahamas. And so that's why I wasn't able to go to the Firm Expo. But again, I would love to hear from you guys. Whoever was able to go to that, I'd love to hear what you loved most about it. And I know some of you have reached out to me and said you went and talked to Lynn and it was fun to meet him. So I really wanted to be there, but we had a wonderful time in the Bahamas. It was all paid for. We didn't have to pay for anything. That never happens. And it was the first time we had ever gone anywhere without our kids. So that never happens either. So we just had the time of our lives, and I could see, I was only there 5 days, but I could see how people who live a regular lifestyle like that can get so caught up in the I don't know what I'm looking to say, the leisurely lifestyle of that. And what I mean by that is there was never any time to think about anything else but in the moment and the fun that we were having. We had like an entourage of people that the company had hired to take care of us. So it was a group of 50 employees and their spouses, so about 100 people. And there was an entourage of people, of agencies that were hired to make sure everything went smooth. And so we always had people taking us places and taking us on our tours and making sure we had everything we needed and just telling us where we needed to be and when. And all we did was just show up. And everything was all planned out. And I mean, we did boat rides, we visited islands, we swam with pigs on Pig Island or Pig Beach. That was fun. And we swam with sea turtles, we snorkeled, we went to these elaborate dinner parties on the beach. We had they reserved an entire island. They rented it from a billionaire. They rented this island and had a big farewell celebration party, and they flew out chefs and a DJ, and I mean, I've never seen anything like this. I've never experienced anything like this. But I know that for a lot of people, this is kind of the norm. And they were pointing out to us all the islands around us. That's Oprah Winfrey's Island and Eddie Murphy's Island. And, on the boat tour, on the boat ride to the different islands, they point out all the homes and all the different celebrities that they belong to. There's Bill Gates's 6 mansions. That's his whole area of island. And I just started thinking, I could see if this were the norm and this was how you lived life daily, you had an entourage of people always surrounding you, planning everything for you, getting you from point A to point B, and all you do is show up. how easy it is to forget what's so important, how easy it is to forget the purpose of why we're here and what we're supposed to be doing. And I mean, yeah, you just get caught up in all that fun, and everything else just kind of goes away. And so it was nice, even though we had so much fun, and it was quite the change not having kids for 5 days. So I actually got to know my husband in a different way. I got to know him the way he was when we were dating, and that was a lot of fun. But when we came back, it was really nice to get back into just having time to read scriptures and meditate and serve people and do all these things that you're not really doing so much when you're on a vacation like that. So, but I wanted to share some things about what happened on that vacation, just a few things that I thought were really neat. So there was the very first day we were there, well, the next day after we arrived, they gave us a credit. They gave every couple like a $400 credit and said you can use it anywhere. So most people used it at the spa or for food, for dinners or breakfast or whatnot. And so we went to the spa, and if you don't use it, you lose it. So you're like, well, you may as well use it. So we went to the spa, and it was really nice. I can't even remember the last time I had a professional massage. I think it's been, oh my goodness, the last time was 2010. So it's been almost a decade. So we went in and had a massage, and it felt so nice. And I remember as I was walking out, and we were, I left my earrings in the bathrobe in the spa, so they had to send someone in to get them. And as we were waiting for them to find the earrings, this woman came over, this local, I always pronounce it wrong. I always want to say, is it Bohemian? Anyways, she was a local, and she came over and she looked at me, and she had just this brightness about her, and she just opened up her arms. I've never met her before. She didn't even know my name, and she just opened up her arms and she says, "Can I hug you?" And I said, "Yeah, sure, why not?" And she hugged me, and she just held on to me, and she just kind of danced and rocked, and she just held on to me forever, and she said, "You just look so happy, and I just want some of that. I just want to hug you." She says, "I really, really like you. I've been watching you as you've been walking through the spa, and I just really, really like you, and I just really wanted to give you a hug." And I said, "Thanks." And we were both laughing, and I was just kind of beaming because I wasn't expecting that. And it just had me thinking. It had me thinking of how when we're when we're positive and when we have the Spirit with us, how our light, other people notice it. And I feel like other people that also have that light, it's like magnets, they come together. Because I could feel that from her as well. And so it was just another reminder to shine your light. People notice. And so I really appreciated that. I wanted to share that with you. And then there was a couple of, let's see, I have some images I wanted to show you. So we'll start with this one. Hold on a sec. Let me shrink it. It's kind of big. So as we were headed to the airport, or we were in the airport headed on our way to the Bahamas, that's the first number that greeted me was 311, and I just knew. I just knew, continue to pay attention, just pay attention. And, you know, when I see that number 2, I'm always reminded that the Lord is with me. He's there. He's there in these moments, and this is just kind of another way He manifests Himself to me. So I could feel that He was with me, and that I just felt so blessed. First of all, that we were even going on this amazing vacation, all paid for, and I just felt so blessed that this was a first for us, and that we could have something like this and enjoy something like this. So anyways, I was really happy to see that. And then another one. Well, I guess I need to shrink that one too. This one was when we were in the Bahamas, and it was in a moment when I was really happy, and I didn't write it down, but I just remember I had a really happy feeling, a happy moment. it was the first day, because it says on there April 11th, so that was when we first arrived. So we just had first gone into our hotel room for the first time, and we were just taking it all in, how beautiful it was and how blessed we were. And I was just feeling so grateful and so appreciative. And I look at the clock in the room, and there it was. There's the 113. So another little manifestation. It made me smile. And so I just had to share that with you guys. And then there was one more. Oh no, that one comes later. I'll share that just a little bit here. So anyways, I get back from the Bahamas. We had a wonderful time, and we get back from the Bahamas. Oh, no. Back it up. I can't forget the most important part. So the day that we left to go to the Bahamas, that day was also my son's birthday, so it was a crazy day. So not only was I cleaning the house and packing, but I was running to the store, grabbing last minute things we needed for the trip and for his birthday party. And my dad and his wife were coming up to watch the kids, and so I was getting the house ready for them and preparing instructions for them, and just so much going on. And it was a red-eye flight, so we didn't leave the house until 10 o'clock that night. So my son's party was at 4, it was from 4 to 6, and we had it at Classic Fun Center, so it was nice. We didn't have it here. So we were over there. It all worked out. Everything worked out great. In fact, I didn't even start packing until after his birthday party. But that morning, we went to the store, and I was in a hurry, so I'm kind of just briskly walking through the store with my list, making sure I don't forget anything. I go through the checkout. I'm just in tunnel vision, just running out of the store. And all of a sudden, right before I get to the doors, I hear someone call my name. I hear Lindsay. And so I look over, and I see a lady that I know. She used to be in my ward, and our ward split a couple years ago, and she just lives on the other side of this road over here. But it's just so funny how when that happens, something just like a boundary split, how you don't see people anymore. Even though she just lives on the other side of this road, I never run into her. And we're connected on Facebook, but she doesn't get on there very often, and I don't see her post very often or hear from her. And so it was kind of nice to see her. And so she says, "Oh, Lindsay, hi." And she's pushing this cute little sweet girl in her cart. And I said, "Oh, she's so cute." And she said, "Yeah, she's my granddaughter, and I've been having to watch her a lot lately." And I remember when this lady, a couple years ago, lost her job. I can't remember if she quit because the environment was so brutal or if she was laid off. But I do remember it was bittersweet for her. And she says, "Well, now I'll have time to work on my talents." She's an incredible oil painter, which you're going to see here in a minute. She says, "Now I'll have time to work on my paintings and spend time with family, but we really need that income." And, so we talked about it. And I remember visiting with her one day saying, "Well, everything happens for a reason. It's all in the Lord's timing. He has us in the palm of his hand, and he has a plan for everything. So just be grateful." And she says, "Yeah, I believe that." And I think she ended up getting a part-time job that worked out just great. Well, when I talked to her at the grocery store, it's amazing how much we were able to talk about just from walking through the door out to the parking lot. It's almost like it was in slow motion, because that's not even a minute. And she says, "Yeah, I've been having to watch my granddaughter a lot lately because her mom's really sick. My daughter's really sick." And I said, "Oh, that's really unfortunate. I'm sorry to hear that. What's going on?" And she said, "Well, she has kidney failure. She has kidney failure, and it's not looking good. It's not good." And I said, "Oh, well, how's she doing today? Like, how's she doing right now?" And I've never met her daughter before, but I just found myself asking these questions. They just naturally came out. And I said, "Well, how is she doing right now?" And she said, "Well, today's a bad day." And she does the dialysis once a week, and it's really hard on her, and today's a really bad day. So that's why I have my granddaughter, and we're just out together, and I'm just helping out her mom. And I said, "Oh, wow." And then I got thinking, well, maybe that's a good thing. Her job didn't work out was because she needs that free time to be able to help her daughter. And it sounds like she's a twin, so she's got a couple of daughters, and as I learned later, her twin sister also went through cancer recently and chemotherapy. So it just sounds like that my friend has really been needed by her daughters. So it's probably a good thing, she's had that free time to do that. So I said, well, that's so unfortunate. Like that's not fun at all. I'm so sorry to hear. And I said, is she going to have a transplant? Is she on a waiting list? And she said, oh yeah, the waiting list is so long. It's really discouraging. It's really discouraging. And I said, yeah, I've heard that. I'm so sorry. And then all of a sudden, I just heard my mouth. I had no control. My mouth just opens up and I hear this come out of my mouth. And the only time this has ever happened to me, I've shared this in past videos, was my story about my 90-day challenge with my friend Debbie and how that got started. That got me started on this whole journey of where I am today and why I do these videos. It all started the day I opened up my mouth and it was like the Spirit spoke through me and I signed myself up for something that I didn't even think I wanted to do, that I had no idea what it even was, but it ended up being the best thing for me. And so again, this was happening. My mouth opens up and I hear myself saying, I had no control over it. And I said, oh, what's her blood type? I mean, we were almost to our cars. I had no time to really carry on a conversation. We were in a hurry and I think it was raining a little bit, and so it's not like you wanted to be standing there, in the rain. And anyways, I just said, what's her blood type? Right when I said that, I heard someone say to me in my mind, she's going to say A negative, that's my blood type, and when she says it, that's how you'll know. And I'm feeling it right now. And I remember thinking, that's how I'll know what? And again, I'll repeat it. I heard, she's going to say A negative, and that's how you'll know. And that's all I heard. And I said, wow. And I mean, this is all happening in slow motion, but really it's just 30 seconds of conversation. So I said, well, what's her blood type? She said, oh, it's A negative. Okay, the reason I'm pointing this out is because I've talked about blood types before in past videos. I did a whole blog post on it, which is one of my more popular blog posts, was that whole topic of blood sacrifice and blood types. And it's something that's always fascinated to me. There is so much we have yet to learn about why we have the different blood types. And I always tell myself, if I ever meet the Lord face to face, that's the first thing I'm going to ask him. If he says, oh, is there anything you want to ask me? Out of all the questions in the world that I could come up with, the one question I want to ask him is, teach me about the blood types. What do they mean? Why do we have these different blood types? And why the Rh negative? So I'm Rh negative. That's the A negative. And for those of you who don't know, Rh negative blood works against our own species. So it's designed to kill the human species. So what I mean by that is if I were to have a baby and the baby's blood was not Rh negative, so say the baby had A positive blood and I'm A negative, my blood would kill that baby. So prior to the Rh negative shot, what's it called? Oh my goodness, I'm gonna slaughter this name. I can't even think of it. The gamma globulin, whatever. You know what I'm talking about for those of you who have this. There's a shot that was created in the 70s that was discovered, and with this shot, it helps it so that the baby survives. So prior to this, babies were dying all the time. And I mean, if you heard of people that had several miscarriages or stillborn babies, most likely it could have been because of the Rh negative factor. Whether the baby had Rh negative blood and the mother didn't, so they were opposites, or the mother had the Rh negative blood and the baby didn't, so either way. And I remember thinking, well, that is really strange. Why do we have blood designed to kill our own offspring? It just doesn't make any sense to me, and I've always been fascinated by that. And if you go down that rabbit hole, oh my goodness, there's so many bizarre theories out there, and really some interesting things. You'll hear things about aliens and the Nephilim and all of that, but I will say that speaking scientifically, scientists are saying that it is they use another word for it, but basically what they're calling it is alien blood. They're saying that this blood was not the original blood of the human species. that this blood was introduced around, oh my goodness, I want to say, I'll probably get it wrong, something like 500 BC, something like that. I've got it in my article, so sorry about that if I'm way off. But anyways, prior to when the Savior was on the earth, according to science, but they're just saying that they can see that this blood was introduced later. So it didn't originate with Adam and Eve, and it came years later, and it's not human blood. They call it another word, but they're basically calling it alien blood, and that it came from somewhere else, and it is designed to kill the human offspring. So strange. So that's a question that I want to ask the Lord, and I want to learn more about, because there's just, I feel like, so much to learn there. But so anyways, ever since I discovered all that and I wrote that article, I've always been fascinated, and every now and then when I meet someone who I feel like we have a lot in common, or we have a lot of similarities, I'm always inclined to ask them what their blood type is. And once in a blue moon, someone will actually be Rh negative. Once in a blue moon, or even A negative. And so I'm A negative, my mother's A negative, her mother's A negative, and it goes through that whole line of family that goes back to royalty, clear back to Great Britain, and is connected to Joseph Smith's family. And boy, this is really going out there. I wasn't planning on talking about all this in my video, but if you've read that article, it talks about how the prophet Joseph and other of his apostles would commonly talk about, sometimes in general conference, I have links to all of this, about being the offspring, or the posterity, or the descendants of Jesus Christ. And so if you look at it from that perspective, and how there's this connection of the line of Rh negative blood through my family, and it's through the line that's connected to Joseph Smith's family, and it's a line that goes all the way back to Christ. I've talked about this before, about this line, and it's through the ancestor that it's through the ancestor who was an orphan, and we never knew anything about that family. And I felt like Satan wanted it that way for a reason, and people had hired, all kinds of family history detectives, and put a lot of money into experts trying to crack that, and nobody could crack it for years. And then when I first started doing family history, after my first child was born, I cracked it right away. And I give full credit to the Lord for that, full credit to the Spirit. And we were able to crack through that block and trace his family all the way back to royalty. And anyway, so there's these connections through that line, and it's just incredible. So I always feel like there's just something more to that, something really, really awesome. And if you search for what it is I'm talking about, you'll see articles and stories and videos about people who have the Rh negative blood. Usually they've got freckles like me. More commonly, they have red hair, and they come from those places in the United Kingdom. They come from Ireland and Scotland, and the Celtic areas, and England, and anyways, that's a huge part of my family tree. But I just feel like there's something to it. They talk about how they're kind of more sensitive. They're more sensitive to certain things, and their senses are heightened, and they have these incredible gifts and abilities, and extra senses and things like that. And so anyways, I just feel like there's something to it. I would love to learn more about that someday. So get back to my story. Sorry, I went way out on a limb there. But to get back to my story, I heard myself asking her this, and I remember thinking, normally I'd be thinking, there's no way she's going to say A negative, because it's a rare blood type. The Red Cross calls me all the time. They call me probably about every other day. They call me to see if I'll come in and donate blood, and more recently they've been begging for more than my blood, my platelets, because my blood is rare. People who are going through cancer treatments, they need the blood platelets. So they actually have a greater need for A type or A negative blood type blood platelets than they do the actual blood, which I was getting calls all the time just for my blood. So I go in a lot. I donate all the time. I joke that I look like a heroin user because I have so many needle pokes in my veins and scars because I donate so much. But the platelets, that's a whole nother experience. It's a 2-hour donation. You've got a vein, a needle in this arm and a needle in this arm, and you're not allowed to even scratch your face, move your hands or arms for 2 hours. You have to lay flat, sit still, while they take the blood out of your body, put it through a machine to remove the platelets, and then put the blood back into your body. So it's this huge, crazy process, and it wasn't very fun. But I'm willing to do it because I understand that I mean, there could be a day when I'm in a bind and I need blood or I need platelet donations, and I'd be so grateful, for those who donate. So I try to give back that way. So whenever I ask people, they never say A negative. It's not very common. I find people who have the same blood type as me, and a lot of people don't even know their blood type, which is interesting. And I don't know if I've shared this either, but I over the last year tracked down the hospital records of each of my children to find out their blood types, and the only reason they have record of it is because I'm an Rh negative mother. So if my blood was A positive, they wouldn't have had to have tested the blood of my children. So they just have to make sure their blood type, just to know, just to be extra cautious, to know if they need to give us more treatment after the birth, if the blood could have crossed paths, could have mixed because we're opposites. So they are required to test the blood of the baby of an Rh negative mother. So we had those in the hospital records, and now I know all their blood types, and I didn't pass it on to any of my kids. They're all positive. So anyways, when she said A negative, I'm like, that's how I know. That's what the Lord meant. She's going to say A negative, and when she says it, that's how you'll know. Well, what the Lord meant by that was that's how you'll know that that this is an opportunity for you to serve someone. That's how you'll know that this is from me, because this is rare. She has your blood type. It's a rare blood type. And how odd is it that we just happened to cross paths at that exact time, and we were in a hurry. We had 30 seconds to talk, and that's exactly what we talked about, that the Spirit spoke through me to ask her that question, which wasn't me. And she's someone I never run into. I don't see very often. It was just so strange. And so after she said A negative, I said, oh, well, I'm A negative. And she said, oh. And then all of a sudden we were at our cars, and I was at my car first. She kept going, and she said, well, her twin sister is an ideal candidate. However, she just went through chemotherapy. So typically when someone goes through chemo, they're not able to donate their organs because of what the chemo does. But we're still going to be hopeful and look into that because you never know. But yeah, if that doesn't pan out, we don't know what we're going to do. And I looked down at her little girl, her little granddaughter, and she just looked so sad, just so sad. And she just had this sadness about her the entire time. And my heart just I could feel those heartstrings being tugged at. And well, anyway, she went her way, and I said goodbye. I get in the car, I'm putting my groceries in the car, and I turned the car on, and I said, Lord, I knew He was working through me. I knew He was with me. I knew He was in this moment. I knew He was behind all of this. And I said, Lord, if you want me to donate one of my kidneys, I need to know. I need a confirmation. I need a confirmation. This is a big deal. And this is not something I would ever sign myself up for. I mean, if it was someone in my family, like my dad needed it, or my husband, right? Obviously, I wouldn't even second guess it. But it's someone I don't even know. I've never met before. And I just said, if this is from you, if you have a reason for this, a purpose, I need to know. Well, the minute I said that, in my mind, I hear ding on my phone, and a text message came through. And I looked down at my phone, and it was a text message from the Red Cross, and it said, your donation just saved a life. Yeah, you can't get any more obvious than that, right? And of course, it was referring to my platelet donation. They had already sent it to a cancer patient, I think in Idaho, in Boise, Idaho, who used it. And so it was saying, your donation just saved a life. But I took that as, yeah, you're donating your kidney, you're saving a life. So I thought, okay, all right. So I'm driving along, I pull up into the driveway at home and I said, okay, Lord, forgive me, forgive me, forgive me, forgive me. This is a big deal. And it's a little nerve-wracking, right? Could you just give me another sign? Could you just give me just another confirmation, just another witness, just something comforting so I really know this is from you and I really know this is your will for me, because this is a big deal. It's not like I'm donating blood. I would be donating something that I'm never going to get back. It's like it's a part of my body. It's I mean, not the same thing as like losing a toe or a finger, but it's a part of my body that I'm not going to get back, that my body uses. So I don't know, and surgery never sounds fun, right? So I said, I just need another witness. And all of a sudden, I pull up in the driveway, I pick up my phone, I tap on my Facebook app, and the very first post in my feed, I'm going to show it to you right here, is the little girl I had just seen in the shopping cart at Walmart. I told you this lady is an incredible oil painter. There she is, there's her little girl. And she says it right here. She says, I've been babysitting her a lot. She's a delight. A little worried, though, about Mom, who has kidney failure. And there she is with that same sad expression on her face. And it just tore at my heartstrings again. And I thought, oh my goodness, I looked at the time she posted that, and it was before we went into Walmart. It was a couple hours before. And there it was at the top of my feed. And again, this is a lady, I hardly ever see her posts show up in my feed. We never run into each other. I really haven't seen her since our ward split a couple years ago. And here's this beautiful oil painting of the little girl I just met. And she's saying right here in this post that her mom has kidney failure and she's worried about her. And she says the name of the cute little girl, her name's Peppa. And wow, that was a sign. So I'm thinking, okay, where do we go from here, Lord? I need you to walk me through this because this is hard. How do you have this conversation with your family? We're leaving on a trip right now. It's my son's birthday today, and we're about to do his party, and my family's coming up, and I just have so much going on. And I thought, okay, well, go, focus on today. Focus on all the things that you need to do. Get through this week. Go have fun on your trip. And then when you come back, it's almost like I could feel the Lord standing next to me, having this conversation with me. And he said, when you come back, I'll be here and we'll talk about this. And I said, okay, I can do that. Well, when we arrived at the airport that night and we were just sitting there waiting and waiting for, to board the flight, there was no kids around. It was quiet. It's a red-eye flight, so there's nobody at the airport. And I just thought, this might be a good time to bring this up to my husband. So I just casually brought it up and said, so I ran into someone today. And he knows who she is. And I said who it was. And I said, funny thing, her daughter needs a kidney. And we're the same blood type. And he just kind of looks at me like, where are you going with this? And he said, yeah, I kind of feel like the Lord wants me to donate my kidney. And he's like, what? And yeah, he was caught off guard by that, and he was pretty surprised and wasn't on the same page as me, and just said, no, I don't agree with this, and what in the world? This is so unexpected, and why would you want to donate to someone you don't even know, and don't you understand the risks of surgery, and when would you have time for this? Who's going to pay for it? And I don't think I support this, and so here I was on this spiritual high, feeling the Lord just totally surrounding me and lifting me up, and like, you've got this, we're going to do this together. And then my husband's doing kind of the complete opposite, like, no, I don't think so, this is a bad idea, bad. And so it just kind of pulled me down, and then I started to doubt, okay, well, I'm not sure, and well, I thought, okay, I'm not going to think about this or talk about this till after the trip. However, I have to say, every day of our trip in the Bahamas, this crossed my mind. Everywhere I went, when I saw a little girl, or I saw, a healthy mom, it just come across my mind, this poor mom and her kidney, and I don't know, it's like I had no peace. I had no peace of mind from it. It just kept coming and coming, like it haunted me. And so we get back from the trip, and my sister calls me the next day. She's on her spring break right now, so I tell her about this story. And oh, I let me rewind it. I am skipping a part, and this is probably the most important part of the whole story. So while we're in the airport, I decide to, because I have some time, to look at my friend's Facebook page and see if I can find who her daughter is. Because I felt like, well, maybe if I can see a picture of her and sort of troll her Facebook page and learn more about her family, it will help me sort of connect with her, like spirit to spirit, and feel even more confident about this and kind of just get to know her. Since I don't know who she is, I've never seen her, I've never met her. And so in my mind, your imagination goes places, and I just imagined this. I imagined like a Latter-day Saint mom, since my friend was a member of our ward, and I just imagined this younger mom, and I just imagined her just being as sweet as pie, and just someone that everyone in the community loves and adores. And I don't know, I just kind of was just going through my mind. So I found her Facebook page, and I figured out who her daughter was, because her name was tagged on one of the pictures of her granddaughter, and I clicked on it, and when I saw her, it was like a complete opposite image of what I imagined in my mind. And anyways, before I tell you all that, I started to really feel the love that the Savior has for her. But prior to that moment, when I first saw the picture, and it was just everything about her and her family just completely different than what I imagined in my mind. But by just, if I were someone who had, obviously I've never met them, but if I were someone just judging based on what I saw, I would say, well, this girl's had a hard life. She looks like she's had a rough life, maybe hasn't made the best decisions. And I could see how someone could even go as far as to judge and say, well, maybe she got herself into the situation, maybe she didn't take good care of her body and wasn't a wise steward over her body, and that's why her health is suffering. And do you want to donate to someone who's not on that path of making good, healthy choices? And I could see how someone would do that. And I thought, and I heard the Lord say in my mind as I'm looking at her picture, and she's got like, the colored hair and the piercings all over her face, and profanity all throughout her posts. Just language that I wouldn't use, and that could be offensive to some people, but it's like the Lord said to me in that moment, do all of these things that you're seeing with your eyes, do all of these things make her life less valuable? And I thought about that, and I thought, no, of course not. And then I heard him say, then also, do all of these things make her soul less valuable? And I said, no, of course not. And he taught me a lesson in that moment. And it's like this movie played in my mind of people we pass on the streets every day, people who maybe don't dress the way that we do, or look the way that we do, or talk the way that we do. Maybe they, they don't take care of their body the way that we do, or, it's so easy just to judge those people and think, well, they're on a not so good path right now, or the reason their life is so hard is because of the choices they're clearly making, and they don't have God in their life, or they wouldn't be making these choices. They wouldn't be using, profanity or whatever. And so you kind of think that way. And I could see how people would be less likely to want to help those people. If you're walking past two people and you see, a Relief Society president type of lady, and she's with her kids, and you find out she's struggling or she's got cancer, your heart really wants to help. But then you see somebody else, and maybe you judge them by their appearance and think, well, they got themselves into that situation, or you're just more closed off, you're not as inclined to help. And I thought, that is so sad, but it's so true how so many of God's children are that way and are judgmental in that way in their thinking. And the Lord said to me, I love her just as much as I love any of my daughters, as I love any of my children. I love her just as much. Her life is just as valuable. Her soul is worth just as much. Just as much. And I thought of all these great women in the scriptures and prophetesses, and how her life is worth just as much as theirs. And she is just as valuable in the eyes of the Lord as they are. And I started to see her. It's like all of that stuff just got stripped away. It was like, everything, the outside things just stripped away, and I started to see the way that the Lord sees her, and I could start to see this beautiful daughter. I could see her in her truth. I could see this incredible soul, this incredible light, and I started to really feel the love that the Lord has for her. That's the way that He sees her, and and oh, it was incredible. And so, anyways, he reminded me, and he said, "Who was it that I visited? Who was it that I visited when I was on the earth doing my ministry? Who was it that I spent the most time with?" And I'm like, "Yeah, it was the misfits." He spent time. He sought after the people that didn't fit in, the misfits. That's who he went after. That's those were the one that he ministered to, and it should be no different with us. And it was just so profound, everything that he was showing me and teaching me, and I could just all of a sudden feel all these wonderful things about her, and he's got great plans for her future and great plans for her life, but there's something through this whole process that's going to transform her. And he was saying things to me like, love transforms everything. Love, it all begins with love. Love is what changes hearts. It's what changes people. It's what heals. It's that love, that light, that power of love that just runs the universe. And he was teaching me all of this, and he just said how powerful it would be for a stranger to know that another stranger is willing to risk their life and lay down their life to bring that other stranger life. How profound of a lesson that is of love, and what Christ-like love is, and how that's the best way we can feel God's love for us is by loving other people that way. They're able to feel His love for them by us loving them. So through our love for them. And I just started seeing, it was like this, I don't know, I could just see it in my mind. And it wasn't just with her, it was like these scenarios all over the world. I could just see them flashing in my mind of instances where somebody reaches out to someone, a misfit, or just a stranger that they normally wouldn't be inclined to walk up to and help, but they follow the Spirit, and they give their all, they lay down their life, they're willing to give whatever, the coat off their back, the shirt off their body, and give it to a stranger in need, and how that act of love transforms the heart of that person, and their life is never the same after that. And God can work with that. God can work with that because that act of love will open up their heart and allow the Lord to come into their heart and transform their mind, body, and spirit. And that's how He does it. That's how He transforms His children, is through our acts of service and love. Anyways, wow, it was profound. It was powerful, and yeah, it was incredible. So fast forward, I'm telling this to my sister on the phone, and I'm telling her about all of this, and that morning, I brought it up to my kids, and I said, "Kids, I I said, I think the Lord really wants me to donate one of my kidneys to another mom who's really sick. And if she doesn't get another kidney, she's probably going to die. And she has a beautiful little girl, and I would really like to help that beautiful little girl's mom so that she can have her mom." And I said, "How would you feel about that? How would you feel if I donated my kidney to a sick mommy who really needs a kidney so that she can live?" And at first they all just looked at me and they got really sad. And they said, "No, Mom, don't do it. Don't do it. What if you die? What if you get hurt? Don't give away your kidney, Mom. We love you." And they all got really sad. And I said, "You guys, I would never do anything that I didn't think the Lord was behind, that He was not supporting. If He wasn't supporting it, I would never do it." And I said, part of obeying the Lord and obeying the Spirit is trusting that the Lord would never ask us to do something that wasn't possible. He would never ask us to do something that we couldn't do and that wouldn't work out. And I'm always reminded of Nephi. I will go and do what it is the Lord has asked me to do, for I know that the Lord, and I'm getting this all wrong, but basically He doesn't ask us to do something without providing a way for us to do it. So I said, all the fears that you have, and especially, my husband, who's going to pay for it, or when are you going to get the time off to do this, and how's this going to work with the kids? And the Lord would never ask us to do something and not work it all out so that everything works out. And so I explained that to my kids, and then my son said, "Mom, just do it. Just do it. Just message her right now and just tell her you're going to do it. So I said, okay, all right. And again, I thought about it all night, all day, all week. I just felt like I couldn't have any peace until I finally made the offer. And so the kids went to school. I came home and I said, I'm just going to do it now. I'm just going to do it now. I'm not going to beat around the bush anymore. Oh, I do have to say that when I was on the phone with my sister, she agreed, and she's like, if you feel that that's what the Lord's asking you to do, then you need to do it. You need to obey the Spirit. You need to obey. And I mean, remember what happened to Jonah. Jonah ran away from what the Lord was telling him to do. He was too scared, and look at how that worked out for Jonah. He eventually had to do it the hard way. But yeah, I was like, you're right, I need to do this. And so I said, well, I know it's terrible, but I'm just going to ask for one more confirmation. Just not because I don't believe that this is from the Lord and this is what He wants me to do, but I just need some comfort because this is really, really kind of scary. So I get off the phone with her right after I had said that. All of a sudden, I look at the TV, and there's a commercial on the TV for Peppa the pig, and how Peppa's so happy, and that's the name of the little girl in the oil painting. This is Peppa right here. So I don't ever pay, I mean, the TV's never on during the day. I never see these commercials. It was the first time I had seen this commercial. I don't watch Peppa the pig, and I took that as a sign, another sign that do this for Peppa, do this for her mom. And so that's when I went into the office, and I said, I'm just going to do it right now. So I got out my phone, and I pulled up Messenger, Facebook Messenger, and I found her on there, and I just said, hey, I don't think I have your phone number, but here's my phone number. Will you call me when you have a minute? And not even 10 minutes later, my phone rang, and she called me, and she's like, hi, what's going on? And I just said to her, well, I asked, how's your daughter doing? And she said, oh, it's still hard. She's still struggling, and I'm still helping, watch her daughter, and nothing's changed much. And I said, is she's still waiting to get a kidney? And she says, well, yeah, we're actually looking into right now. We're having tests done on her twin sister to see if her kidney is okay, because if it is, that's the best one to go with because they share DNA. So her body's more likely to not reject it. So we're going to go with that first. But then, so funny, just this week, a nurse at the hospital who's somehow connected to their family, we had her blood tested, and she is the same blood type as my daughter. So she has offered her kidney. So if my other daughter, if it's not going to work out, we're going to use her kidney. And I said, oh, well, I was calling to offer mine as well. She said, really? Oh my goodness, I am so touched that you would offer. You don't even know our family, or you don't even know my daughter. And I just said, well, it's what the Lord wanted me to do. He wanted me to offer this. In fact, He told me, the minute I saw you at Walmart, the minute I saw you and you said that, I knew. He said, her blood type's going to be A negative, and that's how you'll know that you're supposed to help her. And I said, if I would have been 100% trusting the Lord in that moment, I would have just offered it right then, and then I'd probably be at the top of the list. But I waited a week because we had to go out of town that day, and it was a crazy day, and I'm just now getting back to. But I want you to know that the Lord told me every day. He told me how much He loves your daughter and how He has plans for her future, and He wants her to live, and He kept telling me this, and I could never rest. It just went through my mind every day that I needed to offer my kidney. And I'm thinking in my mind at this point whether it was because the Lord was really going to use my kidney, or maybe it was more like Abraham and Isaac, where Abraham finally said, yes, Lord, I submit to your will. I'm about to do something that is so hard to do. There's no way I could do this without your help and without really trusting you and knowing you, but I'm going to do it anyways. And then the Lord intervened at the last minute and said, I don't really want you to kill your son. I just wanted to test your obedience and see where your heart was. So I thought, well, maybe this was one of those situations where the Lord wanted to see if I was willing to do something hard and trust that this was from Him. And not knowing the outcome, but just knowing that this is what he wanted, this was his will, and he was just testing. And in fact, I'm feeling it right now, so that's my answer. But he was just testing to see where my heart was, to see how much I trusted him and loved him. That I love him enough that I'm willing to do whatever it is he asks of me. And the minute I demonstrated that obedience and that trust and that love, then it's like that trial was over. And she said, well, thank you so much. We're so touched by this, but you're third on the list. So for some reason, it doesn't work out with the nurse. She dies or something happens. She gets sick or who knows, she has a bad kidney. We'll call you, but you're third on the list. And so I just thought that was just an incredible life lesson. And I just felt like I had to share this because ever since that day, this was just yesterday, by the way, but ever since I offered, the minute I offered it and I said those words, I'm offering my kidney, I just felt this relief. And the other word that comes to mind is release. All of that burden of carrying that, of the unknown, the worry, the fear, the anxiety, the doubt, all of that, it's all connected to that fear energy, which is all from the adversary. It was weighing on me heavily. And the minute I just gave it to the Lord and said, I trust you. I don't need to carry around this fear and doubt and anxiety and all of this. I trust that this is what you want and this is from you. And I choose to not carry this heavy burden of doubt and fear. I'm giving it to you. And the minute I did that and I submitted to his will, it was just this release. I felt so light and so happy. My heart was just fluttering and I just wanted to just dance. And I just felt so happy and so much peace, so much peace. And so we talked for a little while more and I just said, well, she said, well, I'm going to tell my daughter that you offered because that will really motivate her to hang in there. And I said, well, let her know, just tell her that the Lord really loves her. He is aware of her. He loves her so much. I could feel it. And he showed me his love for her every day of this week. And so she's got an incredible future in store. He's got some plans for her. And she said, well, I'll be sure to tell her. So today, as I was out on a walk with my son, a text came through my phone, and it was from her daughter. And she said, in fact, I'll just read it to you. I have it right here. She said, here it is. She said, I just wanted to reach out and thank you for stepping forward and offering your kidney. It means a lot. So again, thank you and God bless. And I just wrote back and just said, prayers for you and your family during this time. I'm sure this isn't easy to go through, but I wanted her to know, I want you to know how much God loves you. He spoke to me every day last week about you. I don't know you, I've never met you, but I can feel the love that he has for you, and he has great plans for your life. And she said, thank you. Prayers for you and yours as well. It's not easy, but I can truly say I have actually been through worse than this. I'm a fighter. God gives me the strength to carry on. You are a wonderful person, and thank you again for your support. And something I also wanted to share was when I was on the phone with her mom, she said to me yesterday, I asked her, so how long has she had this? When did it all start? And she said, well, she was born this way. She's a twin, and she was born with very small kidneys. And so they knew from day one that eventually her kidneys would go into failure. And so again, it was another witness from the Lord. You can't judge a book by its cover. You don't know a person, and you can't just assume, maybe this is why this has happened to them. Maybe they brought it upon themselves. Maybe their own poor choices, right? No, no, she was born this way. This is in her plan. Her life plan was to be born with these small kidneys and to go through this trial and then to receive this outcome and go through this experience and receive a miracle. And another thing I forgot to tell you was that when I was on the phone with my sister, the reason I told her this, we were just talking and all of a sudden she said to me, I don't know why I'm about to tell you this. When you hear someone say that, you got to tune in. That's coming from the Lord. She says, I don't know why I'm about to tell you this. It has absolutely nothing to do with what we're talking about. It's so random. But I'm concerned about my husband's kidneys. And she said he's been having a lot of kidney pain, and it's probably from all of the medications he's had to be on his whole life. And he's he's had a hard life too. And he's been on so many different medications, and he's had addictions to those medications and has abused those medications, and he's been through quite a bit. He's been through a lot. And she just said he's starting to finally feel it, and he's having a lot of pain in the areas of his kidneys, but he doesn't want to go in and see a doctor, and I'm really worried about him. And anyways, I just felt like I needed to tell you that. And I said, well, first of all, I'm going to pray for him, and I'm sorry he's going through that. But I'll tell you why you felt like you needed to tell me that. Because it was a sign and a witness of something that I'm about to tell you now. Because I feel like that's my green light that I'm supposed to tell you. So then I shared that with her, which was a confirmation for her that she listened to the Spirit and shared with me about her husband's kidneys, which was what I needed to hear. So anyway, so yeah, in that moment we were talking about, well, usually when people have kidney failure, it's because of this, or that, and that if you Google it, that's what it will say. But other times it can be something that they were born with, that they really don't have much control over. So that was the case for her. And anyways, it's just amazing to see how the Lord's hand was involved in all of this throughout the whole week. How He sent so many signs, so many witnesses, and He was speaking to me every day about it. And it wasn't until I finally submitted to His will and said, Lord, thy will be done. And yes, I will answer the call. I will do what you're asking me to do. And I felt so much peace, and something happened to me that day. And my sister and I were talking about this, and she says, so many other people in your shoes in this moment would probably just keep procrastinating it until finally, it's forgotten, or she ends up getting a kidney from someone else, or she passes away and you're not needed anymore, so you can let it go and not worry about it. But so many people would just keep thinking on it and stewing on it and procrastinating. And she said, I'm glad that you are just going to do it. You're just going to do it. And I said, I always knew I was going to do it. I just didn't know how. I just didn't know if I would call her or message her or sit down and have a council with my whole family. I didn't know how, but I just knew I needed to, and it just it changed my life. So that's what I wanted to tell you next. This is leading into the rest of the video message. Ever since yesterday, I have been a completely different person, and I can only credit it to this experience. I can only credit it to the fact that I did what the Lord asked me to do, and He was testing my heart, and because I submitted to His will and I showed Him where my heart was, that He changed my heart. Somehow this changed my heart. And ever since that moment yesterday, I am just, I am even more in love with everyone, with the world. And what I mean by that is like all of God's creations. Like, we were out on a walk today, and every little thing I see, every little bug, every little creature, every little leaf on the tree, I just feel this love for it. And the biggest difference I've noticed since yesterday was that I don't feel stressed and I don't feel anxious. And this is huge for me because there's so many times when I feel like I'm in a hurry and I have to rush, and I have so many things that I need to do, and I kind of start to worry, and then that energy transfers over into every other area of my life, and it's just never a good thing. And my kids have been late to school this week, and other things haven't gone. Like today I even started this video late. But the old me would have been worried and anxious and nervous and struggling, and the new me, it's like, it'll all work out. It'll all work out according to the Lord's will. Everything's going to work out. It's all going to be okay, and I truly believe that, and I feel that, and I feel so relaxed. It's so weird. It's like how I felt after I had that massage last week. I just feel so at peace, so relaxed. I have no desire to argue or to criticize or judge or to kind of be in a disciplinary mode with my children. I just feel like all I have is this love for them. And they've been noticing it too, so they'll kind of test me and try to push some buttons like how they would in the past. And then I react totally different. I am not reacting to the way that they're expecting. And they can just feel that love for me. And I just feel like last night when I was putting them to bed, I just wanted to sit there and just spend so much time with them and just listen to whatever it is they wanted to talk about. I felt like normally in the past I'd be like, well, I gotta hurry. I have to get to bed too. I have things I need to do, so let's just hurry. I'll read you a story. Good night. But nope, now it was I just wanted to just love them and enjoy them and appreciate them, appreciate their strengths and their weaknesses, and find the good in all of it. And I've just been soaking all of that in, and I can tell you it's made all the difference this whole day and yesterday. I have enjoyed more than ever being a mom and being a parent. And it's crazy. I just find myself wanting to help and serve in any way I can and not thinking about myself and not thinking about how it might affect my schedule or this or that. It's all gone. All of that fear and stress energy is gone. And I can only attribute it to what happened yesterday on that phone call. And so I just wanted to share that with you because it's just changed my life, and I'm praying and hoping this will last, that I can just milk it for what it's worth every day, just continue to milk it and keep it going, stay in this place because it feels so good. And I just have this security and confidence. It's like this trust and confidence in the Lord, that all these things that used to be in the back of my mind about things in the future, things that cause worry, those thoughts are still in my mind, but what's gone is the worry and the fear and the anxiety, the fear of the unknown. It's all gone. And it's all been replaced with this trust and confidence in the Lord, which is accompanied by this incredible peace. And it's just, I don't know, I feel like I'm in heaven. So I just wanted to share that with you guys, that I've learned for myself that when we let the Lord test our heart and we put our heart on the altar, we give it to the Lord and we say, thy will be done. And yes, Lord. And we just submit ourselves to his will, that opens up the door for him to come into our heart and do more with it, to expand it and expand that love and fill us with his love and his peace. And it's like I feel him inside of me more than I ever have before. I feel like we're way more connected. We're way more at one together, one with another. And that's probably why I feel so trusting and confident and peaceful. It's because he's with me, he's in me, and I don't know, I can't explain it any other way than that. So that's the main thing I wanted to share with you guys today, and we're still doing way good on time compared to all my past videos. So just a couple other little things to finish this up. So I talked about all the signs that happened to me this week of where the Lord was speaking to me and telling me this message. And it was so concrete. It was so clear. Well, I just connected something today as well, and I haven't had time to quite ponder on it yet, so there might be more that will come later that I'll share with you. But I believe things always happen in threes, at least three or more. But for me, things always seem to happen in threes, and I know I've talked about that in past videos. So when we came back from our trip, my son said, Mom, the blow dryer died yesterday. So it's a brand new blow dryer. And he said, Mom, it's dead. It's broken. We don't know what happened to it, but we just need a new blow dryer. So we played around with it. It was broken, so we tossed it. And I thought, okay, well, that's an easy fix. I'll just go buy a new blow dryer. Well, that morning, after we all air dried our hair, I get in the car to take the kids to school, and the car won't start. The battery's dead. So far, we've got two things that have died, right? Two things that are lacking energy, lacking power, right? And I'm not making this connection yet at this point. So I thought, okay, well, it makes sense. We've been gone for 5 days. We haven't used the car. Maybe there was some kind of a battery drain going on, and that's just what finally drained it completely, was being gone for 5 days and no one driving it. Which is funny because we went to Missouri the week before and we were gone for way longer. Came back and the car worked just fine. So I called my neighbor. He came over. He jumped me. And he was so kind. He took my car and cleaned off all the corrosion on the battery, and then he charged it all day. And so I felt really blessed. I have the best neighbors, you guys. So I was so grateful for what he did for me. And again, another opportunity to feel love and to be served and to allow someone else to feel love. And so that was a fix. That was fixable. That was nothing that was impossible. And then the third thing, later on that day, I'm doing the dishes, and all of a sudden I go to get the dishwasher soap out of the cabinet. I open it up and there's a puddle of water just spilling out onto the floor. And I thought, oh no, there is a leak. Okay, we can deal with this. We've got this. So I'm trying to figure out where the leak's coming from. I'm playing around with the sink and filling it up with water and draining it and can't quite figure it out. So I just decided to, for now, just put down a bunch of paper towels and clear it out. And I thought, well, I'll tell my husband, maybe he can look at it tonight before we call a plumber. So that night he comes home, he says, well, it looks like it might be leaking out of here, I'll just tighten it. So he tightens it, and then the next day I go to use the sink, which was yesterday. Am I telling this in the right timeline? Yeah, yesterday. And all of a sudden I drain a whole sink of water and it's just squirting out and just gushing out water everywhere. And it's squirting out and it's just flowing out onto the floor. And I thought, oh no, I need to call a plumber. So I call a guy that actually lives over by this lady. When the ward split, he's no longer in my ward, but I called him, and lo and behold, he just happened to be on his way home for a minute, so he was right in the area. We were out on a walk, and he's like, can I come over right now? And I said, oh, well, I wasn't expecting you to come so fast. Yeah, but I'm not home. Let me give you my garage code. So I said, we'll come home right now. So I give him my garage code. We walk back to the car. So this whole process took about 20 minutes. We walk to the car, drive home. Right as we walk in the house, he's just finishing up. He's done. He said, well, it's all fixed. And he said, your pipe was just corroded and had cracks in it. It was really bad, so I just put a new one on, and now you're good to go. So another simple fix, right? But again, something that was broken, something that was ruined, destroyed. So I'm still pondering on all of this, but it's leading into something else I'm going to share with you. And I just made that connection today that here was something that happened in threes. Now, I will say that it's easy to kind of go there in your mind and think, well, this could be the adversary. He's trying to interfere. This was during the process where I was wanting to help and listen to the Lord and submit to His will, but how easy it is to get distracted from that when things are going wrong in your life and everything's breaking apart and breaking down and being destroyed, and you have to put your time and energy into fixing all those things. How easy it is to get distracted from what it is when the Lord's in the middle of giving us a very important message. We can forget about it and sometimes never get back to it. So that's a possibility, but also I always teach and I always believe that whatever the enemy is doing, the Lord is going to take his plans, the plans of the adversary, and turn them into something good and make them align with the Lord's plans. He takes everything bad and he turns it into something good for our benefit. He pulls the beauty out of the ashes every time if we let him. And so I thought, well, on the plus side, I have some new things. I have a battery in my car that's just as good as new. It's all cleaned. And I have a new blow dryer that's probably better than the old one, or the last one. It wasn't very old. And now I have a new pipe under my sink. So at least I have some new things. And that's when it kind of, I heard in my mind, new things. New, brand new, right? And recharged, battery got recharged. And I'm thinking, I'm hearing in my mind these words. Power gone, the power was gone in the battery. The power was not working in the blow dryer, so they were dead. There was no power in them, they were dead. Now I'm getting somewhere with this, so bear with me, but I hope you hear what it is I'm trying to say. So we have things that without power, they're dead, they're dormant, they don't work the way that they're supposed to because they lack the power. And that God had plans for that, though. It was a simple fix, and He was able to turn those into something new. He was able to transform these things in my life and give me something new out of all of it. So out of things that once were, that have died and gone away, has come something new, something better. So that's what I'm hearing in my mind. Well, anyways, yesterday or the day before, I get an email from one of my friends out there. You're probably watching right now. My mind just went blank. But I got an email, and it was a link to a video about. It was really interesting because it was about the same concept, and it was a lesbian couple, and their story was as they were about to get married. They had just gone into the courthouse to get the license for the marriage, and then all of a sudden God just showed them sign after sign after sign. I think there were 3 signs that were as clear as day that this is not right and this is not what I want for you. These are not the plans that I have for you. And they share their testimony. I'll have links to everything I've shared today down below this video, so be sure to check back later tonight for those links. But you can hear their testimony, and it's incredible. And she said, the minute we talked about marriage, I felt within me that it was wrong. I felt this is not right. This is not what you should be doing. She said, then I went and got the license, came out, and there was my first sign. She talks about the wing of a dove that was laying on the stairs of the courthouse. And then she talks about, oh, my mind just went blank. There's another sign. So she has 2 signs, and then her partner that she was going to marry had a dream all at the same time. And in the dream, she was clearly shown this wedding should not happen. This is not what I want for you, and this is not right. And so after that, they talked about it and agreed this is God speaking to us through these 3 signs. And these are things that most of us would just walk past and disregard, but they chose to say, maybe there's something to this. Maybe this is a message from the Lord. Maybe he's trying to speak to me through this bird wing that's laying on the ground, right? A lot of us would just say, oh, that's gross, or that's unfortunate. A bird lost its wing, and we just move on with our life. But God speaks to us all the time, and they recognize that. And because of that, their life was transformed. They went, I can't remember exactly how it happened, but they went to a church, and they committed their life to Jesus, and they made that commitment going forward. They said that they were delivered. They had people pray over them, lay hands on them, whatnot, and they said one of the ladies said that she fell down on the ground for 2 hours and could just feel herself being delivered from all of her sins. And she said they asked her to shout out or say her sins and give them to the Lord to release them and go through that repentance process. And so she named every sin she could think of, and it just shook her entire being, and she could just feel change happening within her. And she couldn't move. She was laying on the floor for 2 hours being delivered from these sins and the darkness that was attached to them, the dark spirits that were attached to them. She was delivered from all of that. And they said that when they came out of all of this, they were brand new people, brand new, completely transformed, did not have those same passions, appetites, and desires as they did before. And they said, only Jesus can do that. Only Jesus could do that. Only Jesus can change someone that way. And so, again, there was another story where the Lord spoke to someone and gave them a very clear, important, life-changing message where he was able to get into their heart. He was able to get into their heart and transform them because they opened up the door. They recognized the signs in the way that he was speaking to them, and they chose to receive that message and accept it, which opened up the door for him to come in and transform their hearts and transform everything about them. So I love that story. Well, let me get back to my notes here. So something I just wanted to add to that too is after my car got restarted, nothing in it was the same. It was different. So what I mean by that is if you've had your car die before and you get jumped, the radio stations that are programmed, you have to reprogram those. The clock has to be reprogrammed. The time's different. All the settings have to be readjusted because they've all changed. So it takes a lot of time to do that. But for some reason, the clock in my car will not let me change it. So the clock is like, it's not even right on the minutes. It's not just the hour, but the minutes are way off. So at first I thought that would bother me. And we've actually ordered a new car. So in a couple months we'll get a new car. My husband will drive my car. But I thought that would bother me, but actually it's done the opposite for me. I have actually really come to enjoy not knowing what time it is. I think that's helped keep this peace going with me. Is normally when we're driving places, I'm looking at that clock and I'm pushing my foot down on the gas. You know, we've got to get there on time. We only have a few minutes. I've got to get here. I've got to get there. Don't talk to me, kids. I'm thinking, right? But where the clock is not working in my car, I have no idea what time it is. And I find that I'm not in a hurry anymore. And that I'm enjoying my kids in the backseat. And we're talking and we're singing. And life is great. And I'm like, I'll get there when I get there. And if I'm late, I'm late. And, you know, it's all going to work out. There's no point in stressing. And we always say, we talk about all the time how awesome it will be when we don't have to worry about time anymore. After this life, time is not an issue. But we can kind of live that way now. And that's what I'm experiencing with not having a clock working in my car, is that I don't know what time it is unless I pull my phone out. And sometimes not knowing is the best thing. And so I'm able to live in the moment and be in the present when I'm not focused on the time. So I just wanted to share that with you. Sometimes the things that go wrong in our life end up being the best thing for us. All right, you guys. So lastly, I just wanted to talk about some things in the news and some numbers. And I've got some scriptures to go with all of that. So I did forget to tell you that the day that I saw my friend in the grocery store and I heard the Lord say in my mind, she's going to say A negative and that's how you'll know. When I got in the car and I was asking the Lord to manifest to me, give me something, give me a witness, give me something. I forgot to tell you that he put two scriptures in my mind. The first one was John 15:13, and I heard, "Greater love hath no man than this, that a man lay down his life for his friends." But the Lord changed that last word, and it's, instead of his friends, I heard strangers, a complete stranger. So I thought, gosh, if he's telling us in the scripture, there's no greater love than laying down your life for a friend, how much greater is that love if you're willing to lay down your own life for someone you don't even know and you've never met, for a complete stranger. And I'm feeling it right now. So that's why I know that did something powerful to my heart, because of the scripture. And then I heard Doctrine and Covenants, section 18, verse 10. "Remember the worth of souls is great in the sight of God." And verse 15. "And if it so be that you should labor all your days in crying repentance unto this people, and bring save it be one soul unto me, how great shall be your joy within the kingdom of my Father." And there's reference to that in my patriarchal blessing. So that scripture has a special place in my heart. But the Lord taught me about that, and he said, you're thinking about right now saving a life, but it's not just a life, it's a soul. It's someone who's struggling right now and needs to feel my love and needs that hope. It's a soul. It's not just a human life. It's not just a physical body. It's a soul. That soul has a life. And how great will be your joy and my joy if you save but just one soul. And my blessing talks about that. And that reminds me of this whole, everything that President Nelson is emphasizing right now in the church is ministering to the one, going after the one, just that one person that you can do something for. And so I just wanted to share that with you. And let's see. I do have some things I want to share real quick in my journal. So let me, yeah, I did. I forgot to tell you that the night before I called my sister, the night before we talked on the phone, or it was that morning, I got up and had prayer time in the closet with the Lord. I had that closet time, and this is what he said to me. He spoke to me then as well. He spoke to me so much, you guys. And he said, go to page 117 in Jesus Calling. So I go to page 117, and here's what it says. "Listen to me continually. I will tell you who and what to pray for. Quit trying to make everything fit into your own plans. Just trust me. When your mind is busy, you can't hear me." I needed to hear that. He was saying, quit trying to figure out in your mind how all this is going to work out and how it's going to fit into your life, how it's going to all happen. Just trust me. Just know that I'm in charge and I will make it all work out. And when your mind is always busy going into a place of planning and trying to understand everything and going into the future and wondering how it's all going to work out, when your mind's busy doing that, you're not able to hear him. That's why he wants us to let all that go, let that worry go, give him our burdens, and just trust him. Then we're able to listen in the moment and hear him speaking to us and actually hear what it is he's saying. And so I loved that. And then he said, Now I want you to turn to a scripture. He said, go to John, 1 John chapter 3, verse 6. I had no idea what the scripture is. I'm not a scriptorian, so I only have a few scriptures that I have memorized. But the words, I know the scriptures and the words come into my mind often. So I turned to 1 John chapter 3, verse 6. And it says, whosoever sinneth hath not seen him, hath not seen the Lord, neither know him. And then in verse 9, whosoever is born of God doth not commit sin, for his seed remaineth in him, and he cannot sin because he is born of God. So he started me there, and he taught me a lot about those scriptures, and I was writing about it in my journal, and he says, but there's more. This is leading into another message. So he sends me to verse 16. Hereby perceive we the love of God, because he laid down his life for us. So they're saying we understand the love of God because he gave up his life for us. So that's how we know his love. We ought to lay down our lives for our brethren. And I'm feeling it. Major spirit bumps right now. And there was my scripture right there. Because God loved us and sacrificed his life for us, we ought to lay down our lives for our brethren. Who are our brethren? Look around. It's everyone around you. We are all children of God. We are all brothers and sisters in Christ. And that's who we are to serve and lay down our lives for. Then he took me to verse 17. Whoso has a good life. I'm going to pause right there. I'm laughing because I can't tell you how many times I sat on my vacation in the Bahamas. Anytime I had a moment, I would praise the Lord and say, Lord, thank you for this moment right now. Thank you for this beautiful island I'm on. Thank you for this delicious food I'm eating right now. Thank you for these new friends I just met because I have a good life. You are so good to me, Lord. I am experiencing and enjoying all of this abundance of goodness because of you. And I want to thank you. My life is so good. I have so much. Thank you, thank you. And so he's saying to me, whoso has a good life and seeth his brother have a need, and shutteth up his bowels of compassion from him, how dwelleth the love of God in him? Wow. So he's saying you have a good life, and you're walking past someone who has a need that you can fulfill, and you decide to turn your cheek the other way, turn a blind eye. The love of God doesn't dwell inside of you, because if it did, your compassion would pull you to that person. And that would be the first thing on your mind is, how can I help this person right now? What can I do? And then in verse 18, let us not love in word, neither in tongue, but in deed and in truth. And this is important because he showed me something, and I forgot to tell you this. When I was looking at her Facebook page in the airport, and I went onto my friend's Facebook page, and she shared this right here. Here it is again, the beautiful painting. Down below in the comments, people were writing, oh, well, I will keep you in my prayers, or blessings to you and your family, prayers for you and your family. My thoughts are with you and your family. These are words, and they're saying it in words. They're typing it out on their phone. But then people are saying it in tongue, in passing, like, at church, like, oh, hey, I'm sorry, I've heard about your family. I know you're going through a hard time. I'll keep you in my prayers. So there it is with tongue. So in word and tongue. Let us not love in word and in tongue, but let us love in deed, which is an action. It's an action. We need to love in deed and in truth. That's when the Lord can use us, and that's when he can really make things happen, is when we go into action mode. And so, hold on a second, kids. My kids are home from school. Guys, give me just 5 minutes. Huh? This is live, honey. This is live right now. Tatum, you just go. Okay. Yes, that's a good idea. Yeah, go do that. Go do that. Sorry, you guys. All right. So anyways, when I was looking at the comments and on our Facebook post, and I saw all these people, and I know a lot of them, and they were just saying, blessings, prayers, I hope they find her a kidney. I hope, I pray. But God was showing me this, and he actually said to me, I wrote about this in my journal, he said to me, this is good. I mean, it is a good thing, but look at how many of my children just show their love in word and tongue and just say, well, I hope this happens, and I hope it turns out in your favor, and I pray, and I hope, and I bless you, and I send my prayers and thoughts with you. But he says sometimes they forget that they can be the answers to those prayers. Sometimes they just think, well, all I'm going to do is pray. But they forget that they are also the answers. They are my hands. We are God's hands. And sometimes we just turn it over to him and say, God, I noticed so-and-so down the street has a need. Will you please take care of it? Will you please help? But God's waiting for us to say, Lord, here am I. Can you use me to help this person? I believe you can. Show me what you want me to do. That's what he wants us to be doing. That's the level where he wants us to be at right now. And he taught that to me. He said, look at all these children of mine who are saying they want to help, and or they're at least just wishing her well and offering up prayers, but they stop right there. That's where it ends. They don't go a step further and show her my love. She needs to experience my love. She's going to feel more love in a more profound way for me through their actions, because I can do something with that. There is life. The energy of life is in action. It's in motion. It's in things going forward. It's not just in passing someone and wishing them something good. And of course there is life in our words as well, and that power rolls off our tongue. But God can do so much more through our actions. So I just wanted to share that. There was that witness in that scripture. I couldn't believe that. I just felt it from head to toe when I read that. That's everything he had just taught me the day before. And so lastly, he sent me to John 4:11. If God so loved us, then we ought to love one another. And John 4:18. There is no fear in love, but perfect love casteth out fear. And I was just talking about that. And in verse 19, we love him because he loved us first. And so there was that witness again. The reason I'm not feeling anxious and fearful and doubtful right now, the reason I'm in a place of such peace and comfort and security, and it just feels so good right now, is because of this love. It's because there is no fear in love. So we're all that's been taken out of me ever since yesterday morning, and I didn't realize how much of it I had in me. I always thought I was pretty good in that area. You know, I've released a lot over the years, and I keep on top of that with my prayers, but clearly there was something there, and the Lord changed that yesterday. Maybe that's why he needed me to go through this experience, because he needed to change me. And so he's saying right there is no fear. I mean, we know that. I teach that in my videos. Love and fear do not exist in the same place. They do not coexist. And so we can't serve two masters. We can't serve the master of fear and the master of love together. We're always going to pick one over the other. And of course, we're choosing the master of fear because love and fear don't coexist. So he's saying there is no fear in love. So that's how I know I was filled immensely with God's love yesterday, and it's still there because I have lost this fear. It's just not in me anymore. I mean, the way I view things right now are so different than just a few days ago. The way I'm seeing the world, it's like I'm seeing it through his eyes. And I'm seeing people the way that he sees them. And the way I react and respond to things is so much different than how the old me would have done it just a few days ago. I'm so much more patient and understanding, and it feels so freeing. It's like I've been freed. I've been liberated. It's such a good feeling. I'm not a slave to fear and worry and doubt and all of that. It's gone. So I just wanted to share that with you guys. This has been profound for me. And I am just about done here. I just wanted to sum it up with some things in the news because it's all leading into that. Okay, so let me just go right into that. Okay, so real quick, let's see. Okay, so let's talk about this right now. I've been writing about this in my journal too, that there has just been so much in the news lately about the Catholic Church and also France. And I just keep hearing it. In fact, prior to the cathedral in Paris burning down, I'd been talking a lot about the Catholic Church and about France and the leader of France. And it's just something that keeps coming up in conversation and in my mind. And I've been pondering on it a lot. And My husband can testify of this because I've had a lot of these conversations with him. And he grew up, where he grew up in Germany, you're either Lutheran or you're Catholic. He grew up Lutheran, but it's split equally in most towns. You've got the Catholics and you've got the Lutherans, and so he has a lot to contribute to these conversations. So we've been talking about this, and one day this video just popped up in my feed. When I was listening, I was cleaning, and it wasn't something I was looking for, and it was a video that popped up, and it showed the Pope. It was something about the Pope, Pope Francis, and how he was turning away people that were trying to kiss his hand. And I don't know anything about that. That's a culture that's different to me. So I was curious, so I clicked on the video, and it turns out the guy who does the video, who makes these videos, his channel, he is Catholic. So he has a lot of knowledge about this, so it made it even more interesting to me to hear about it from the perspective of someone who is Catholic. So I've since watched a couple more of his videos, and I'll have those links below because they're very interesting. But anyways, sorry, the sun's kind of coming in here at an angle. So he shows this video footage of a recent event where there's a line of people coming in to meet the Pope, and he shakes their hand, and then right when he shakes their hand, they go to kiss his hand, and he pulls away. But not only does he pull away, he looks disgusted. He has this look of disgust on his face, like, ugh, like he's shivering, like, ugh. And it was kind of funny. I've never seen anything like this before. And I was curious, what is going on here? What is this about? And so the man doing the video explains it, and he said, in our church, it's very important to allow, if you're the Pope, to allow people that want to kiss your hand to kiss your hand. I think there's a ring. They wear a ring, and it has to do with the ring, and I don't know if they're kissing the ring or the hand. But the ring, I guess this act represents being in the presence of the Lord. So he said when you're kissing the hand of the Pope, it's not that you're paying homage to the Pope and you're saying, oh, I love you, I'm kissing your hand. You're paying that respect and honor to the Lord. So it's like he's acting for the Lord and you're kissing the Lord's hand. So for him to deny that is like the Lord denying them that privilege of showing their love and expressing their love to him. So it's kind of offensive. So all these people are going through, and even though they're seeing everyone in front of them get dissed by the Pope, they're still taking a chance and going for it, and he's doing the same thing. And sometimes it's funny, he pulls it away so fast, and he's like, move along, and he's just, ugh, no. So I thought, well, maybe he's a germaphobe. maybe he just doesn't want that. But then they showed footage of just earlier in the week and earlier in the year of celebrities and Olympic athletes who were meeting him, and they shook hands and they kissed his hand, and he proudly allowed them that kiss and welcomed it. So they were saying that when it's kind of just masses of regular people, he has no interest, but when it's someone of status, he lets them. Now I found that interesting, and so it was so different to me, I pondered on it a lot. Well, then I think it was yesterday, a video popped up, and it was something in the news about the Pope kissing the feet of some leaders. I forget what countries they were affiliated with. They were leaders, I think, of some African countries, and it just showed him getting down on his knees and kissing their feet, standing up, moving to the next person, getting down on his knees and kissing their feet till he had kissed every one of their feet. And how they were saying this is something new and radical and different that the Pope does not do. So everything that this Pope is doing is different and radical. That's the message I'm getting, and these are from Catholic news agencies. So I found that interesting. Well, then I'd been pondering on that all week, and we're coming home from our trip from the Bahamas, and we're on the plane, and my husband shows me his phone, and he shows me, I don't know if it was a tweet or a message that came through, but it just showed that the cathedral in Paris, Notre Dame, I always want to say Notre Dame, Notre Dame was burning. It was on fire. And the minute I saw that image and I read that headline, I was hit with it. The Lord said, pay attention. This is big. This is a big deal. That's what I heard in my mind, and I said to my husband, this is big. And he said, yeah. And then we land in Atlanta, And we're sitting in the airport waiting to connect our next flight, and there it is on all the TVs in the airport, images of the cathedral burning. And in that moment, you see the spire collapse. The minute I saw the spire collapse, I know a lot of you felt the same way. That was pivotal. That was a pivotal moment, very symbolic. I'm feeling it right now. That means something. And I started hearing a message, and I'm going to read that to you in just a minute, but in that moment the message started coming, and I was feeling a lot about that. And it was crazy. So then we get back and we hear it everywhere. Everyone's talking about it. My mom's calling and texting me about it, and people are talking about it everywhere. And then later on that night and into the next day, these other stories begin to surface. And so I've got some of them here. Let's see. Let me go in order. Let's see. I don't have these in order, so let me find what I want to show you. Okay, these are not quite in order, but let me just show you. A lot of you have seen these stories as well. So this one here says, Cathedral Basilica of St. Louis, or St. Louis, King of France, sustained damage during last night's storm. And I believe this one was in Missouri. So this storm, let's see. I just want to make sure I'm telling the right story. So this was, let's see, there's the French connection right there though. Again, King of France, St. Louis, and this is in Missouri, I believe, and it forced them to cancel their Palm Sunday services. So it was a big deal. So they received the damage from the storm. It's another Catholic church. It's another cathedral. And there's this connection to France. So here it is again. And then, let's see, got some more in here I want to show you. Here's this. Palm Sunday worshipers at the historic Cathedral of St. John the Divine in Morningside Heights. I believe this is the one in New York. So this happened also in New York. Were undaunted by a fire that broke out in the historic building's crypt on Sunday morning. So again, on Sunday. The blaze, which started in the basement at about 10 a.m. at the Amsterdam Avenue Church, was extinguished within an hour. So again, you have another Catholic cathedral that's caught on fire. And this is on Sunday. Okay, so then we have this headline here. Notre Dame and I can't pronounce that, I'm sorry, Al-Aqsa? I'm sorry. Fire gives Christians and Muslims a chance to work together to repair their sacred spaces. So then you have this fire that happens over in the Holy Land. You have this fire, I believe it was on the Temple Mount, and this was a sacred space also for the Muslim community. And because the Christians share this sacred area as well, they were able to actually come together and work together to, I like this word here, repair their sacred spaces. What I'm hearing with that is build bridges, repair damage. The Lord is using these experiences that probably the adversary, maybe the adversary is behind this, right? Maybe he's behind these burnings, especially if they're intentional, if they're arson, he might be behind this, but the Lord is using it to do something good, and he's using it, he's allowing it to send a message loud and clear. So I love this. Okay, and then, oh, there's more. So then someone sent me, this is a little bit out of order, but somebody sent me this. Actually, let me read this to you first. Let's just go back to the screen. This was Beth, and I didn't get her permission. Beth, I'm sorry, I hope this is okay. But she sent me something. This was before my Bahamas trip, and it's all connecting now, so I remembered she had sent this to me, so I went back and read it again. And she wrote something about, let's see, it says, let me go down to her. Sorry, it's all just kind of running together in my notes. Okay. Okay, she says, I saw this comment made on a thread tonight, and I wanted to pass it along. Have you heard any of this yet? After reading this, go read Revelations 19 and note verse 7. It goes along with a lot of what we've talked about this year in our group. Here was the comment on a discussion about a temple in Jerusalem being built. Quote, The tribe of Levi did not receive a land inheritance, but instead lived among the other tribes and served as their priesthood leaders. They were given the Aaronic priesthood as an inheritance upon their heads forever, instead of a land inheritance. Time will tell, but they have kept the bloodline pure for 2,000 years and passed the temple rites and ordinances on to their posterity since that time. For the past 4 or 5 years, they, after not having actually done a blood sacrifice for 2,000 years, have been rehearsing an animal sacrifice, which is prophesied to happen in the last days. The blood sacrifice would be part of the restoration of all things, though it will only last a short while. In December, on Hanukkah 2018, the Jews invited 70 nations to attend the dedication of the temple altar they have built. They also have every other artifact, vessel, robe, garment, menorah, showbread, trays, etc. completely finished and ready for their temple to be built. This Passover, they will perform a real paschal sacrifice of a perfect lamb on their newly dedicated temple altar, again for the first time in 2,000 years. In Ezra 3, you can read that prior to their last temple being built, they built an altar and offered sacrifice 2 years and 2 months prior to the foundation stone being laid on their new temple. History is repeating itself. That would mean that their next temple would begin being built in 2021, smack dab in the middle of the 2 eclipses, halfway through the tribulations, and at the end of the half hour of silence since the 7th seal opened. The math is undeniable. We had talked about that in a past video, by the way, about how many believe when you do the math that the half hour of silence ends in the year 2021. So this is really interesting. The Rome temple fulfilled the beginning of Revelation 19, a description of a temple dedication where 24 apostles would be present along with 4 others, dressed in white linen. Look at the photo of the apostles sitting in front of the Christus in the Rome Visitor Center, with the 12 ancient apostles standing behind them, along with the first presidency. Now, I can't believe I didn't have that picture on here, but I'm sure many of you have seen it. That picture is iconic. I remember when I first saw that, it hit me. This is big. I heard this is big, and even President Nelson commented and said, this is something we've never done before, to not only have the 12 apostles all together, but with the first presidency on the other side of the world, all together in a photo with the original 12 apostles of Christ's church. Just amazing. Then President Uchtdorf in his conference talk said that it took Paul 40 days to walk from Jerusalem to Rome. 40 is a vital biblical number, and in all kinds of history and prophecy. When you add 40 days to the Rome temple dedication of March 10th, you end up at Passover, the first real and complete Passover in 2,000 years. Suddenly, President Nelson's comment about the Rome temple dedication being a hinge point becomes literal. The day of the Gentile is over, and the day of the Jews is beginning. I believe their offering will be accepted, and because they have made themselves worthy again, they will get their temple, and they will become open to the gospel of Jesus Christ. This is their temple to be built. They are going to be given the opportunity to restore their dormant priesthood and authority again, and it will bring them to Christ. I loved that. I don't know if you felt it. That was pretty powerful. That was big stuff. And I came across this. I wanted to show it to you guys. Came across this article that shares a little bit more about that. Let's see. Here it is. It says, will Israeli elections bring back the real Passover sacrifice? And I know I talked about that in recent videos, about the Israeli elections right now, about their elections. And I believe, I need to look into that. I'm a little bit behind. I forget the day. They may have already have had them, and I need to update myself on their news. If anybody wants to comment about that, who knows? I also believe didn't they just do their Passover sacrifice? I haven't looked into that, but this says, 1 week after the Israeli elections next month, a reenactment of the Passover temple service will be held. Hidden in the elections is a Temple Mount agenda that may determine whether the ceremony will be a reenactment or an actual service that will return the most important element of the Jewish temple. So my thoughts about this were is, as the rest of the world tunes into this or watches it, they may just see it as a reenactment, but those who are paying attention and notice what this article is talking about will know if it's the real deal, not just a reenactment. And then it goes on talking about more about this if you want to pause the video here later and read it. I'm not going to read through everything, but this is just absolutely incredible. So let's go back here. All right. So I love this. All right, now getting back to the topic of Rome, Catholics, France, all of that's going on, even things happening over in Jerusalem, so much prophecy coming to pass right now. So when I saw all of these news articles coming forth, and there might have been a few others, I'll show you in a minute, I just had to comment. And I wrote my thoughts down in a comment on Facebook, so I just wanted to read that to you. But I wrote, and everybody points out, you know, this is all happening during Holy Week, which means this is highly significant. And I've always talked about, always pay attention to not only the location of where events happen, but the timing, the day. Is there something going on? Is it a special day? Is it a holy day? Is it the number of that date? Is there something that the Lord wants us to pay attention to? Because that's how He does it. Everything is timed just perfectly. Nothing is ever random. And so I wrote, I felt something big was still on the horizon. It's all manifesting what's happening in the spiritual realm right now. God is doing something new. He's making changes, and Satan is fighting just as hard. He chose to do it all during Holy Week, which is highly significant. He will pull beauty from the ashes. He is about to resurrect what has died, which is the faith. I truly believe in so many churches, faith has died. He's taking Christians to a higher level. It's that resurrection third day power. Anything that's standing in the way of His children knowing Him personally and strengthening their faith in Him, not faith in man, faith in a church or organization, faith in hierarchy or power, faith in wealth and riches. He's sending the message that we need not put our faith in these things, but put our faith in Him. When everything burns and falls, the only thing still standing is Him. When the spire fell on Notre Dame, the Lord put Matthew 7:27 into my mind, and I'll read that. And the rain descended, and the floods came, and the winds blew, and beat upon that house, and it fell, and great was the fall of it. The word fall keeps coming into my mind. It's a key word in all of this. The purpose of everything in the last days is to get the earth back to the way it was before the fall, to restore it. Also, Doctrine and Covenants 29:21 keeps coming into my mind. And the great and abominable church, which is the whore of all the earth, shall be cast down by devouring fire, according as it is spoken by the mouth of Ezekiel the prophet, who spoke of these things, which have not come to pass, but surely must. As I live, for abomination shall not reign. Anything keeping us from knowing our Lord and Savior belongs to the great and abominable church. I did mention in a past video that many have interpreted the great and abominable church to be the Catholic Church, ever since the Council of Nicaea took place, in which powerful men changed the fundamental doctrines and voted on those changes. But we learn in Doctrine and Covenants 88:94 that the great and abominable church is the tares of all the earth. And I've done a video on this before, and a blog post. And in verse 94, and another angel shall sound his trump, saying, that great church, the mother of abominations, that made all nations drink of the wine of the wrath of her fornication, that persecuteth the saints of God, that shed their blood, who sitteth upon many waters, and upon the islands of the sea. Behold, she is the tares of the earth. She is bound in bundles. Her bands are made strong, and no man can loose them. Therefore she is ready to be burned. And he shall sound his trump, both long and loud, and all nations shall hear it. Now Rome did persecute the saints of God until every last apostle was martyred. Then they joined with the remnants of the church to take control and changed its doctrines and put the headquarters in Rome. Wolves in sheep's clothing continue to be revealed, and we have learned of all the abominations and fornications that have taken place over the centuries. We've learned that these things have also taken place in other churches. Truly the tares cover the face of the earth and wear many guises. They are choking the wheat. The Lord told us that they will need to be burned prior to the resurrection. Amazing that all these church burnings are leading up to Resurrection Sunday, this Sunday. The message is so powerful. I talked about it in a past video. How many believe that 2021 is when the half hour of silence ends? The resurrection follows the half hour of silence. We're going to see that resurrection third day power more than ever right now. It's all pointing to what's on the horizon. Okay, so now, having said that, I just wanted to show you a couple of things. Okay, let's see here. All right. Okay, so after I wrote this, I started seeing these images that people were posting all over the media, and they were pictures of the cross that's still standing. So you look at the images of the burned down cathedral, but you see straight in the center, no damage done to it, is the cross. And then we've also learned that the crown of thorns that supposedly is the crown of thorns that Jesus wore was also preserved. And it goes with what I shared in this. So I was reminded of this, how in my mind, the Lord is saying, at the end of the day, when everything else is destroyed and everything is swept away, the only thing still remaining is me. It's the Lord. That's why we need to build our foundation on the Lord. When we build Him, He is the rock. When we build upon the rock, that is what we can put our faith in. That's what will remain standing after everything else falls. And so that was a witness when I saw that cross and I heard about everything connected to Him being preserved. I thought, well, that represents the Savior. It's preserved. And He, at the end of the day, He's what's still standing. And again, though, I heard in my mind, we need not put our faith into the structures, into the buildings, and into all these things that can easily be destroyed. They're just temporal things. But the church building, the cathedral, is not the Lord. And, all of these symbols and things, they are not the Lord. And they can all easily be destroyed by fire. They can be destroyed just as easily as they were built and made. But the one thing that remains sure, confident, and indestructible is the Lord. He will always remain standing when everything else falls. So I love that. That's what He told me. And so let me show you this. It says, thankfully, 2 of the Catholic holy relics in Notre Dame, the crown of thorns and the fragment of the cross. So yeah, it's actually a fragment of His cross. And in that moment, I thought, well, anything that the Lord has touched has His power in it. So truly, if this is a fragment of the cross that He was on, He touched that. If He wore that crown of thorns, He touched that. It's got His power in it, and His power is life. It's indestructible. So that was powerful to me when I read this. And it just goes on to saying that these are what survived the blaze. And it talks about the mosque, or what is it? Sorry, it just says Al-Aqsa, which was built on the Temple Mount, was, let's see, in here it doesn't report any damage. So I'm not sure. I don't know the details of that story. I just know that there was fire and it involved a holy site, and that it brought the Christians and the Muslims together. But it talks about that in the same story. So I love that people are recognizing that the news is sharing this. Okay, so then just a couple more things I wanted to show you. Okay, let me go back to the camera real quick. Okay, so I told you about this guy that has this YouTube channel, and he's Catholic, and he's really informative. I've learned a lot. And in this other video that just happened to pop up this week, it was him talking again, and he's talking about this letter that had come out from Pope Benedict. Remember Pope Benedict? Pope Benedict was the last pope who stepped down. He was given emeritus status, and so this was something different and new. Usually the pope remains the pope until he passes away, but this was something different. He stepped down, and then they brought in Pope Francis. And so he said that Pope Benedict wrote a letter just a week ago. And in this letter, he's exposing a lot of themes. And I thought that was really interesting. And he's a German pope, so my husband knows a little bit more about him. And he released this letter in German to a German news agency in Bavaria, because he's from Bavaria, and my husband's from Bavaria. So it was so fascinating to read this letter because I made a lot of connections from what I know about the Bavarian culture because of my husband and having that connection and having visited there many times, so I could see what he was talking about. So I want to share with you some of the things from this letter, which is really fascinating. And one thing I will say before I read you this was that this Catholic man, he was interviewing another fellow Catholic, and then I heard it on other Catholic sites as well, people of the Catholic faith having this conversation, and they're all saying the same thing. They're all saying something along the lines of, we're not too thrilled with Pope Francis. He's radically changing everything about the church, and we don't agree with a lot of these changes, and he's kind of going with the way of the world. He's trying to please the world and trying to please the people rather than keeping things true to the doctrine and the traditions. And they're hoping, they have this secret hope, that Pope Benedict will come in and save the day, that he will rise up, open up his mouth, and according to them, do the right thing and call out Pope Francis and sort of go to battle with each other and try to preserve the Catholic Church. Otherwise, they fear it's going to break apart and reform again and go different directions, and new churches are going to start, and that's what they kind of forecast. And so it's interesting because I'm not Catholic. I don't have very many Catholic friends, but it's interesting to hear their conversations going on in their community, and I had no idea that this was all new to me. So now I'm going to read to you some of that letter that Pope Benedict wrote, and they believe the reason he wrote it to a German news agency in German was so it wouldn't get so much world attention. He just felt like he had to get something off his chest. He wanted to say it, but he didn't want to step on Pope Francis's toes and cross that boundary line and share it with the whole world. But that's probably why we haven't heard much about it. Okay, so I'm going to share with you, let's see, I could just find it. Oh, sorry, before I get to that letter, I forgot to show you this. There's the numbers 111 all over this. This is about the connection between St. Louis, the cathedral there, and Notre Dame in Paris. So there's that French connection again, and the numbers 111. So that really stood out to me. Okay, so back to right here. Okay. All right, so I underlined what I wanted to highlight. So he says in his letter, he says a lot more than this. I'll have a link to it down below if you want to read the entire letter. It's 6 pages long. But he says, what must be done? Perhaps we should create another church for things to work out. Well, that experiment has already been undertaken and has already failed. Only obedience and love for our Lord Jesus Christ can point the way. And then down below he says, the power of evil arises from our refusal to love God. There again is that topic of loving God. He who entrusts himself to the love of God is redeemed. Our being not redeemed is a consequence of our inability to love God. And that is so true. He's saying when we don't partake of that redeeming power and we stay in that fallen state, it's because we're not loving God. And until we can learn to love God fully, we're not going to be able to partake of his redeeming power. He redeems us when we open up that door and allow his love in to change us. So this is confirming everything I just wrote in my journal. So it's like another witness. And I love how the Lord does that. He sends me witnesses and confirmations through people of different backgrounds and diverse faiths. And I love it. I just absolutely love it. So I wanted to share that. And then going on, he shares quite a bit more. Let's see. Sorry. It just bumped me out of my spot where I was. So let me get back to... My goodness, I have a lot of images on here, you guys. goodness. Here we go. I'll remember number 5. Okay, help me remember that number. Number 5. On to number 6. Okay. Okay, this was interesting. He said, a society without God, a society that does not know Him and treats Him as non-existent, is a society that loses its measure. And he says, when God does die in a society, it becomes free. People think that, right? They think that when God dies and we get rid of Christianity and we get rid of God, we take it out of everything, then we're truly liberated, we're truly free. And he says that's what we were assured. In reality, the death of God in a society also means that the end of freedom, because what dies is the purpose that provides orientation. And because the compass disappears that points us in the right direction by teaching us to distinguish good from evil. And he goes on to talk about Western society and how God truly is becoming more and more absent in our society and what that's done throughout history. And he's been around for a long time, so he has a lot to share about that. And then he goes on to say more. He says, let's see, number 7. Why did pedophilia reach such proportions? So he's talking about pedophilia in the Catholic Church, but not just the Catholic Church, all over. And he says, ultimately, the reason is the absence of God. And he says it right there. That is so profound. He says, why did pedophilia reach such proportions? The reason is the absence of God. And you can take that so many ways. When I first heard that, I heard, why did pedophilia reach such proportions in the Catholic Church? Ultimately, the reason is the absence of God. Wow. But then you can also read it in society. Why did pedophilia reach such proportions in our Western society? Ultimately, the reason is the absence of God. We Christians and priests also prefer not to talk about God. So he's calling out his own. He's calling out his own people. He's calling out the church. He's saying, we prefer not to talk about God because this speech does not seem to be practical. And he goes on to talk about this. He talks about World War II in Germany, and he goes on to explain the history about why this happened. It's really interesting. I'm just going to skip through some of this. Let's see, number 8. He says, Jesus himself compared the church to a fishing net in which good and bad fish are ultimately separated by God himself, sort of like the wheat and the tares. There is also the parable of the church as a field, here it is, on which the good grain that God himself has sown grows, but also the weeds that an enemy secretly sown onto it. Indeed, the weeds, which are the tares, the weeds in God's field, the church, are excessively visible, and the evil fish in the net also show their strength. Nevertheless, the field is still God's field, and the net is God's fishing net. And at all times, there are not only the weeds and the evil fish, but also the crops of God and the good fish. And I've talked about this a lot too in my videos that, all over in every church, you're going to have these wolves in sheep's clothing. You're going to have people in positions that are not who we think they are, but eventually the Lord will expose them, and eventually he'll pull them out because they're choking the wheat. They're bringing down the wheat. The Lord knows who they are. He recognizes them, but a lot of times, without our discernment, we don't. But he's saying just because you have these wolves in sheep's clothing, or you have these tares infiltrating the church at every level, different levels, and not just the church, but society and education and the media, just all over. It doesn't mean that those things are bad and they're all corrupted. It just means that they've infiltrated into what's God's. And so God's going to do something about it. He's going to burn the tares. He's going to remove them so that the wheat can flourish. So just because, you have some bad things going down in your community, in where you live, in your family, in your church, whatever it may be, doesn't necessarily mean that God is not there. It just means that He's exposing those people. He's exposing the tares, and he's taking them out. He's plucking them out so that the wheat can flourish. So, it's still his gospel. It's still the truths are still there, but he's pulling out what's not of him. He's cleaning it up. He's cleansing it so that all that remains is what is truth, is what belongs to him. And so that's what's on the horizon right now. That's what's happening right now. Okay, let's see. And that's all I pulled from his letter. So let me go back to the camera real quick. We are just about done here, you guys. And yep, this I should just not say anything anymore. This is a long video. I'm sorry. My notes were so short. Really were not long at all. I just have a lot coming into my mind about this, I guess. But long story short is that things are changing right now. Just like I talked about with the things that broke down in my home and they died. They didn't have the power in them, and without the power, without God's power, it's just dead. It's nothing. And God is destroying those things, and He's bringing about something new and something better. He's doing it right now on every level, in every area. You can see His hand working. You can see what it is He's doing. And these church burnings and all these things going on right now throughout the world are a manifestation in the physical realm of what's taking place in the spiritual realm. You can clearly see that God is doing this at the spiritual level. That this battle is going on right now. That He is cleaning up house. He's letting us know what's most important and what we need to focus on and where our eyes need to be, and it's on Him. And that He is all that we need to focus on right now. He is what remains standing at the end of the day, and what our faith needs to be firm and steadfast in. So I absolutely love that. And we're going to see more and more of this as things begin to wind down and wrap up. And it just absolutely goes with what President Nelson said about the Roman temple being a hinge point right now. It truly is a hinge point. When you think about a hinge, you think about a door, you think about something opening. So if something's about to open, God's about to pour His love in and transform it. That's been the message of this video. All right, you guys. So having said that, I'm sure I could go on forever, and I'll save that for another video. But I want to quickly go through and make sure I didn't miss anything, because I always do. So I've got a couple more images I think I didn't show you guys. Okay, here's the first one. Yeah, so there were actually news articles that highlighted what Pope Benedict shared in his letter, and they focused on, he talked about the sexual revolution of the 60s, and he talked about in that letter how it changed in Germany, how after the 60s, people decided, he mentions names and certain influential people in their society who said, you know what, let's start teaching our children by showing them. Let's show them sexually explicit images and videos in our schools so they can better learn sex education. Let's let them see it all. Let's not hide it from them. And society accepted this and said, yeah, he has a good point. And slowly, they felt the sexual revolution was actually freeing them, when in reality it was doing the opposite. It was pointing them away from God, so they were becoming lost. They were becoming imprisoned. And he talks about how his experiences with that, how you could just be watching normal TV and in the middle of the day when children are watching TV on channels where there's children programming, you could see sexually explicit images of naked people doing those types of things, and you could see it on billboards, you could see it everywhere. And having been to Germany many times, that was always something. I was just asked that in the Bahamas. A couple said to me, well, wow, why don't you live in Germany? Don't you want to live there? And I said, no, nothing against Germany. It's a beautiful place. It's where my husband is from, and his family still lives there. But the culture is so different that way, and we're seeing more of that infiltrate over here. I just feel so blessed, honestly, living where I live. I don't have to see those things here, but in Germany, there's been many times we're just driving down the road and there's a billboard of a naked man and a woman in the act, you know, and it's just there for everyone to see. It's not censored. You could be watching TV in the middle of the day, flipping through the channels on a normal channel with just normal family programming, and all of a sudden a commercial comes on and there's naked people in the commercial, completely full frontal nudity, or people doing the act, or I would see this all the time, and it was shocking to me, but not shocking to them because they're so used to it. It doesn't bother them at all. They find it funny that I'm bothered by it. But I just thought I don't know, I have a hard time raising my children around that. But as Pope Benedict pointed out, that's sort of the creating the destruction and the fall of society And the morals and values is because of what they thought was freedom is actually doing the opposite. Oh, that sun is really coming in. Okay, so I found that interesting. I just wanted to share that with you guys. A couple other things. This caught my attention, and I haven't spent any time pondering it, but this headline here that says, Red Wave Rising. And I know we talked last year, several videos ago, about people talking about a red tsunami coming, a red wave coming. And they thought it would be with this midterm election, but they didn't quite feel that that was a tsunami. So I saw this title again and it caught my attention, Red Wave Rising. And I know there's something more to that. I won't spend a lot of time on it in this video, so I'm just putting that out there. We'll probably revisit that down the road. But we talked about that in past videos. So that had some meaning for me. It caught my attention. Okay. Oh, this is something I wanted to show you. I was listening to an awesome podcast. I will put the link below to it. But the title of the podcast was At-One-ment, which I absolutely loved. It was all about the sacrament, which has been on my mind a lot lately. And right when I paused the video, I looked down and there's the time, 11:33, 113-311. Pay attention. I knew this was an important podcast, and so I feel that I need to share it with you guys, and I know you're really going to love it. So just wanted to put that out there. Let's see. 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Here's another one. I've just been seeing it everywhere. In fact, I didn't even have time to take all the images off my phone, but on my trip, anytime I pulled up YouTube or I looked at the time, it was always 113-311. I've been seeing it everywhere. And with everything going on in the news this week, everything I've been pondering that's been on my mind, it was so important for me to see these numbers. Okay, 11, I showed you this one. 13, here's one. My post that I wrote about General Conference, I noticed right after I posted it, the next time I checked back, there was 113 people it had reached. So there was that number, 113. Absolutely love that. So I just had to take a screenshot and share, of course. And then here's another one. This is a song that we've been asked to sing, me and 2 other ladies in the Word and our daughters. We've been asked to sing this song called Risen. It's so beautiful. We just practiced for the first time last night, and we're going to sing on Sunday. And when I pulled up the video to hear the song, there was the number 113, so absolutely love that. And I think that's about, oh, this I wanted to show you. My little heart right there. So right after I made the decision that I was going to call my friend or reach out to her and offer my kidney, I felt peace in that moment, and I looked down and I see a white heart laying on the floor right in front of me. And my little son, Tatum, he saw it too, and he said, "Mom, take a picture." I said, "You know I will." And so I just had to share that with you. Talking about God's love and peace, what better image to see than a white heart, right? In that moment. All right, I think that is everything. Yep, we are good. So let me go back to the camera and let's go ahead and see if anybody had any comments before we wrap up. Hi, Tina. Hello. Shandy said, oh, look, Tina, look at the time when you commented, 3:11. Shandy says, I'm O negative and always had to have the RhoGAM shots. RhoGAM is the word. Gamma globulin shot. RhoGAM. Thank you. So you are Rh negative. Wow. I'm sure many other people are out there. We just never have these conversations and ask, right? That's awesome. Thanks for sharing, you guys. I think I paused the video, so I got way behind. I don't think your comments are up to date on here, you guys. Let's see. There might be a little glitch on here. Either there's just a couple comments, or my phone stopped and the screen went black, and I have been doing the video all this time, so I don't know if it's behind on the comments and it needs to catch up. I'm so sorry, you guys, if there have been other comments, but I can't wait to read them later, so I'll go back and check. Here's some coming through. Darn it. It's behind. It's kind of pausing. Isabel says, "What is going on here?" I'm not sure. Anyways, well, I'm just gonna have to get back to these later. So I'm so sorry. This is not up to date. In fact, actually, what I can do real quick, I'll just go over here. Just go over here real quick, you guys, and then we'll just wrap up. I'll just go onto my desktop and see. It says, what is going on here? Yeah, it's live right now, so I can see if there's any comments. Nope, I think that's it. I think those are good. So we are good, you guys. Well, I just want to thank you guys so much for joining me today. I hope you have a wonderful Easter between now and when we talk next. I'm sure lots of amazing things are about to happen, and it's going to be a beautiful, glorious weekend as we celebrate the resurrection of our Lord. So I'm really looking forward to that. But in between now and then, if you have anything you want to share, reach out to me. Let me know. I'd love to hear from you guys. And real quick, I just want to see if I skipped anything. I think we're good. Yeah. Oh, I did. I did skip something. Real quick. Yes. The other big news headline that sort of just got swept under the rug, and I haven't heard about it since. It's not really anywhere in the news. Is Julian Assange and his being arrested at the embassy and dragged out of the embassy. I don't know if you saw that footage, but the minute I saw it, I heard in my mind, this is big, pay attention. And I can't remember now exactly who it was, but I know that somebody recently, last year, prophesied about this and said, when you see him be arrested and pulled out of the embassy, that's when X, Y, Z will happen very quickly. That's when you can pay attention to X, Y, and Z. And I made a mental note of that, but I don't know if I wrote it down anywhere. I don't remember who it was that said that. I know Charlie Shamp touched on that a little bit as well. So I'm just putting that out there. If any of you are familiar with that, I'd love to hear. But isn't it amazing that all this happening in 1 week? So many big things I wrote in my notes. Big, all caps and exclamation points. Big, big, big. So many big things, and I wrote, there's more to come. I really feel that strong right now, that there's so much more coming that's going to be big. So pay attention. Thanks for joining me today, you guys. I appreciate hearing from you, and I love your comments and experiences. Those of you who reach out to me outside of the videos, I love it. Please continue to do it. It just adds so much more to the videos and to what I'm pondering and studying. So thanks very much for all you do and all you share. And hope you guys have a wonderful rest of your weekend. Happy Easter, and I will see you next time. A little blinded by the light.